G'day and welcome to On The Esky, an Aussie sports podcast proudly brought to you by the People's Republic of China and the zero alcohol Tsingtaos. No, just joking there, but I'm trying this. How did you actually end up with this in your fridge, can I just ask?
Chinese New Year, saw him in Coles for sale, figured I'd give him a go.
Doesn't taste too bad.
I've had like one of them.
Well, at least one more will go this afternoon, this evening. Thank you for joining us if you are with us live or if you're listening back during the week. Hope you're having a good one. We will be talking cricket and the Delhi disaster. The boys, they got our hopes up, and what have I learnt from my sporting fan, being a fan of teams that like to choke, just never get your hopes up. Zero expectations, zero disappointments. Baseball doing a bit down in New Zealand. England looking pretty good. Plus rugby league. It's only, it's less than a week away. Thursday, 6 days away till the season opener. We're going
if whoever this is.
Yeah, little faith. They haven't really sorted out that debate.
CBA.
Yeah, CBA, Players Association versus Verlandis, etc. But I'm pretty confident we've got a season starting in 6 evenings' time. We'll discuss the non-Sydney team. So we're going to do half of our preview this week and half next week. We're going to do similar to what we did last year. Look at ins and outs, give a few bold predictions. The Cowboys one went well last year, didn't it? NBA All-Stars. Who the heck is Matt McClung? We'll talk about that. The relevancy of the All-Star break moving forward. Plus soccer, the Premier League starting to sort of head down the home straight and Champions League action during the week, plus final round featuring fight news with AFL F1 just around the corner. On the YouTube, we've got the timestamps, as long as you're not listening to this live, because, pretty hard to skip forwards into the future. Someone asked about that in the comments last week, didn't they? Yep, need to finish the live podcast before you can put those timestamps in, but once that's done, you can skip to the sports that you like. Check out the Carlton Draft. That's Carlton, DRAFT. Use the promo code ESKY for 20% off some of their gear. We'll be doing an order for some AFL/cricket/good times related gear there. We like to start off this show by shouting a beer. I'm going to pass it over to you on my left. Shawnee, who are you shouting a beer this week?
Well, first I want to give a little bit of an update because I've been shouting him a beer for, I guess, a better part of 6 weeks, and that's Patton Hillis, who's made a full recovery.
Excellent.
So I think today or over the last evening, he kind of had a little bit of not a press conference, but of an interview, kind of shared his update that, yes, he's made a full recovery, very thankful for everyone involved in his recovery, and that his family is all still alive, essentially. So big thank you, big thanks, I guess, for Patton Hillis for his bit and all that. So and good luck on the continual recovery. But my actual shout out beer has to go to Paxton Lynch this week because unfortunately for him, he's the first player ever to be benched in an NFL game, college football game, USFL game, and now an XFL game. So
4 legs.
All the major leagues, I guess, of the various types of American football post-college. He's, flamed out in all of them. So he probably needs a couple of beers.
Couple cold ones, a few Tsingtao Zeros for him.
Yes. So a few beers there for Paxton Lynch. The XFL going, viewership's not been as where it was last year, but it's been pretty interesting with some of the new rule changes they've got. With a lot of good comebacks late in the game, with some of these rule changes that enable, the main one being after you score, you can then do a 4th and 15, and if you get that, you maintain possession, so you can keep going. It's really
pound the other team into the center of the universe.
Or you could be behind and you get the double possessions and you score. So we've already seen results swing, like he had two tutter swing with like a minute to go because of it. So some interesting trial kind of rules there, which is good. Which is I think the NFL kind of needs a G League essentially like this is, and where they can try out some things. And it's the Rocks League with a bit of affiliation with the NFL, so it should be good.
glad to hear you've been following the XFL because I will be watching a grand total of 0 seconds of that. But it's good to see that the Rock's doing a bit, few lead changes, and we've seen a few players. You know, PJ Walker comes to mind. Making it up to the NFL out of that XFL.
Speaking of which, Josh Gordon has been scoring bulk touchdowns and looks good. So
there you go.
You know, a former actually won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs. So a Super Bowl winner, of course. Depth player there, but he's still very talented and surprisingly still pretty young. So, he's one to watch for maybe another go around in the NFL next year.
Legalise it, man.
Season.
50 states, legalise it.
Yes.
Monks, who are you shouting a beer to this week?
Yeah, so keeping on brand with our chat around the league tonight, I am shouting Herbie Farnsworth a beer for no reason particular in terms of sporting ability, more so just the fact that he's going to pretty much be able to sit out the season. He's got nothing else to do but sink beers.
He's still got to play for the Brisbane Broncos this year.
He could.
He
could do what Dom Young's doing, and they might do a early release / play a trade. So there's some chat about that.
So what I'm alluding to here is today breaking news on the Esky, not on the Esky. He signed
6 hours ago as well.
Yeah,
it's really breaking.
Really breaking. He signed with the Dolphins, so the English international player will be playing with the Dolphins in 2014. So still
14,
contract.
2014.
Wow, geez. I'm starting great tonight. 2020.
I was like, that's a fucking long way away.
Yeah, it is.
Those travelling timestamps, that's a long way into the future.
That's it. No, so obviously still contract with the Broncos this season.
24, bro.
Yeah, so whether or not he risks getting injured this season is, I suppose, the question. So, yeah.
It's a bit silly how they do this in the NRL, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, they should really have like a window sort of towards the end of the year or something where you can sign for another team.
Like every other major sport does.
Yeah, essentially. It's a bit weird, like especially in a game where you've got to put your body on the line week in, week out, and you're thinking, I'm fucking off out of here in 24
but there'll be
24 rounds.
That's it,
Let's say we'll talk about that in rugby league section, I think.
Rugby league. Good looking rooster, actually, Herbie Farnsworth.
Yeah. Were you the one that was
sent
around the
who was NRL Roast. They got a few more followers than us on the socials. They did a hottest 100 to coincide with Triple J's hottest 100, I think, a few weeks ago. But it was the hottest 100 men in league with Nico Hines coming in at number 1. So Dally M and hottest man in league, not bad. I think the Dragons had 2 of the hottest 100 there. So we might be the worst team in rugby league this year. We'll chat about that in the league session. But it seems we're the ugliest as well.
Yeah, a few rough heads going around.
Zach Lomax stiff in that one, I reckon. All right, boys. I'm going to shout a nice 0 alcohol Tsingtao beer.
Oh, good one.
To Cam Myers, a 16-year-old Canberra kid who has just run a 12-second personal best in the mile, 1,600 metres in 3 minutes and 55 seconds. I believe that's the fastest time ever by a 16-year-old. So keep an eye on that kid. If he's doing that, I think he came 4th it was an all-ages race and he came 4th in it. So you can imagine by the time he's 19, 20, might be really pushing some of the...
When's the next Olympics?
The elites over that. We got to go to Paris in 2024. 14, sorry.
2014, yeah.
Fucked up. You fucking up.
So next year is what we're talking about. Yes?
That's it. Yeah, next year.
Yeah, so it'll only be 17 there, but maybe the next one when he's... Maybe Brisbane, baby. Maybe Bris Vegas 2032. Jeez, it hurts my brain to think that far in the future.
Yes. We'll be in our 40s, so no.
Nice. I don't know. Anyways, mop of the week, boys. It's going to lead us into our cricket chat. The sweep shot, brooms, sweeping leads to brooms.
Yeah, I got the connection there.
Yeah, like I said in the intro, got our hopes up, and just like poor Ralph Wiggum gets his heart ripped out of him in The Simpsons by Lisa Simpson. That was the Australian Hearts, the collective Australian Hearts. On Sunday afternoon, our time, we went in to the day with, 60, 70-odd run lead. Travi Head goes early, and then it was just an absolute capitulation. Ronald McDonald, a.k.a. Andrew McDonald, a.k.a. Founder of Not Very Good Ron Ball, said there was no team directive to be playing the sweep shot, so that's weird because everyone was playing the fucking sweep shot and not playing it very well. No. It is interesting. Usman in the first innings did make 80 odd and was playing both reverse and regular sweep shot with relative ease, and then everyone sort of tried to do it early on in their innings. I think
Head the night before really didn't as well.
He played straight. He
played straight. Well, he played aggressive. He went after it, but I don't think there was much sweep involved. But yeah, I guess they must have just all got it in their heads that to play spin here, we got to sweep. And some of the comments from the Indian team afterwards was just like, you don't sweep on this deck. Like
they asked Jadeja, and he was like trying not to laugh. He's like, yeah, maybe not on this one. I'm Dadu. I am your dad.
Scorecard, Jimmy, as well. It's not pretty to look at.
Absolutely cleaned up by it's the usual suspects, Jadeja and Ashwin. We just can't play them. We spoke about it last week that Jadeja is in some kind of form. His numbers over the last few years essentially put him as the best all-round. Like if he maintains that for the rest of his career, there's an argument to be made.
All three of them
for him being one of the best all-rounders of all time.
Yeah, all three of them are currently in the top 5 for all-rounders. So that says one part of it.
7 for 42, Jadu took. So far in this series, 31 of the 40 wickets have been taken by Jadeja and Ashwin. We just really don't have any answer for him, and the answer definitely is not
sweeping.
The sweep. Yeah. So that leads us into our formal cricket section. Yeah, so as Afa mentioned, due to sweeping and reverse sweeping and very peculiar strategies, obviously they wanted to try and take it to the Indian bowlers and try to play aggressive and build a bit of a quick lead. It just did not happen.
Too far. I wanted the Australian.
Yeah, just go to that Australian second innings. So we broadcast last Friday. We were watching, the
end of the day.
Uz bat, not too bad. India go out there and again get some help from their lower order. An absolute thorn in our side.
Really needed it to basically even it up and make it even in the contest.
And we said that middle order is suspect, and
it was.
But the problem is their middle order goes to fucking 9. So Rohit Sharma runs himself out. I don't know, that was in the second innings. Scroll up for us a little bit because we haven't spoken about the Indian innings. So look, we're right on top when we get Pujara for not much. Rahul and Sharma both get starts. Kohli looked probably the best that he's looked in quite some time, and then we just can't finish off. And Akshar Patel's batting at 8 and scoring 74, and Ashwin staying with him to keep them.
That's 100 there, and that was really the difference. That's what
massive,
brought him back in.
Yeah, massive.
Which really levelled up the test match because it was one run in it.
One run in it, yeah, and going into day 3, which is where we'll pick up, we had a glimmer of hope, and for some reason, rather than just trying to block out and stop the bleeding, everyone just wanted to go out there and sweep, or slog sweep in Paddy Cummins' case, or reverse sweep first ball in Alex Carey's case. It just seemed like the game plan wasn't working. Let's abort. Let's try something else. But no, everyone just wanted to keep just trying to sweep our way out of it, and
it's got to work eventually, right?
It was just an absolute capitulation.
Paddy Cummins was probably one of the worst ones of the lot.
That was the old
first balls.
Yeah, head up, trying to absolutely
just wasn't
smack the crap out of it over cow corner. It barely bounced, but look, that's what the deck was doing. Yeah. So
113 was not enough in this. Like, even if they'd pushed to 200, that may have been enough.
200 may have definitely been enough.
So you can see how close they were, and they really threw it all away. Because what did the bottom? I think they scored 35 runs, didn't they?
Yeah, it was like 9 for 30 odd or something.
Yeah, that's just sad. Considering
so it's 2 for 65 when Head goes. So quick maths, 35 plus 13. So they lost 9 for 48. Is what they lost.
Yeah,
it's pretty hard to win in India, especially when we have a batting capitulation like that.
So I know we talked about it a little bit last week about Alan Border getting stuck into them with the thumbs up and a bit of the culture chat. I don't
play hard-nosed cricket.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily what's missing here, but I feel like maybe they were lacking the killer instinct to win this game, like how to finish this off and win it. Because when it started going wrong, it went really wrong, and no one really knew, hey, we had to get back into this game, and like, how do we win this game? Because you think back to all the recent games, they've been well out in front. They really haven't had to play a tough test match where they have to have that killer instinct and finish out a game and, be grindy, play hard, really win it. And once they kind of, I guess, got the pressure on them that, hey, we've got a sniffy to win a game in India, it just blew up in their faces. So,
and they called him Captain Grumpy for a reason. I didn't really agree with any of his comments. In the lead up, we spoke about his selections for that test, and I couldn't have agreed with them less. The smudger giving, Jadu a thumbs up, change the outcome of the game? No, I don't think so. But I think there might be onto something there in that, we are lacking some kind of mental fortitude when the going gets tough. It seems that we just roll over, especially in Asia.
Yeah, well, you think of the team's Australian culture. Yes, it was very hard-nosed, in your face, very aggressive, lots of banter. Let's call it banter, sledging.
Abuse.
Abuse, yes. For many decades. And then, I guess, since Sandpaper Gate, there's kind of a transition in the coaching stuff. And, Langer tried to maintain a little bit of that, but also, trying to rebuild the culture. And then with his ousting, they've gone very player-friendly, where the players have found great voices, and they've more I guess, open to all of that, more involved in let's say the social media side of it. They kind of opened it up, and you see the characters a bit more. But is it too friendly? I don't think so. I think maybe they've gone too far one way. That's what I'm getting at. They were so hard left, they're now so far right, and maybe they just need a little bit more of that, come back a little bit, maintain where you're in your happy space, but you still need that killer instinct. You still need that, whatever it is, X factor, to finish out a game like this where you got to play a little bit grittier, a little bit harder to win it.
Firstly, I think it's interesting that you said that the hard-nosed version was left.
That one just went first. So.
Politics aside, I don't know if it's a mental attitude thing that has anything to do with outside of being able to block out and play straight and survive and try to from a cricketing sense, just play better cricket than India in that moment. Of course, when your back's up against a fucking wall on a ranked deck on day 3, a 3-day test, it's going to be tough mentally. Cricket is a tough game mentally. I think it's a technical flaw and a game plan flaw rather than some kind of our attitude's gone too soft. I just don't feel like that reflects accurately our demise.
True. I think there may be a cultural piece there potentially, because the way I feel is like Travis Head opened that door. They really should have kicked it in.
He looked good, yeah.
And they should have kicked it in and won this game, but they slammed shut themselves, bolted it and boarded it up and wanted to get out of there. I think you could probably ask questions about the lot of it. Captaincy, leadership, was it the coaching, was it the culture of the team, was it the assistant staff and how they were coaching the things, or is it purely on the individuals? It's probably little bits of everything that alluded to it, and they're all in India. Now spent the last week there, probably either drowning sorrows or they're trying to work out what they want to do going into the third test. But they've got to find something. They're obviously it's not working, especially in a game which was a lot tougher than. That's probably the other question. Did they come into this maybe underdone a little bit?
110%.
Coming off like a soft summer and then into the Big Bash for some of them, and then they've come across here.
That's 100%. We said, how good is the Big Bash when Steve Smith's going out there and and hitting 100 off 58 balls? That makes the Big Bash more exciting. But when the 2004 team goes over to India with Hayden and Langer and Ponting and the rest. They go over there 6 weeks beforehand, and all Haydos does is play sweep shots in India for 6 weeks and learn from the Indians.
Well, they were telling stories about how they would hire like local spinners to come down and bowl to them like non-stop all day, so they could get used to what the conditions were. Like practice, like if you're going to do sweep, just practice it over and over, so they had it ingrained and they could see what they were picking.
And that's just where modern cricket is at. Unfortunately, the younger people that are trying to push the T20, sort of agenda. It's not so much young people; they're the fan base, but the boards that are trying to push it from a money perspective have got to be aware that it's affecting Test cricket in a big way. You can't have these guys come off, a longish Australian summer into, there was meant to be 3 games against South Africa who pulled out because of T20 cricket. Again, their own league, and then we scatter our stars in the Big Bash and get massive turnouts and a good spectacle, and then they've got to go into the Allan Border Medal, get on a plane on Tuesday. Poor Usman can't get his visa sorted, and then they've got to be playing a fucking Test match on the next weekend. Like it's for me, underdone doesn't even. They went in there. It wasn't even rare. The cow was still mooing.
And then also projected out, they go straight into a one-day international series, then follow that for all the various T20 tournaments they're going to do.
Yeah.
And then what do they have as a lead into the Ashes?
Exactly. There's probably not going to be a whole lot of red ball cricket played by our elites.
Yeah. How many of these guys are going to go, maybe we should go play some county cricket leading up to it. So, it's concerning.
I think you've nailed hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, there we go.
It took me a second.
Hit the hammer with the nail.
That's it. Yeah. Just like the varying success Australia has had in T20 and the one days, they've probably gotten a little bit comfortable in the way that they play those sort of games. And then when it comes to Test cricket, like you said, they don't have the mentality to last out more than a day almost.
Because the way I look at it, and we've seen it in both the first and the second Test match, the Indian team is beatable.
100%.
With the way their middle order, outside of the tail end, outside of the all-rounders, there's definitely some weakness there. You just got to get through them, and then you got to jag those guys, and you're in red hot chance of winning a Test match. Yeah. But it looks like the squad's kind of fallen apart a little bit. So
we'll get into that now. So who is actually going to be available for this third Test in Ahmedabad? Obviously, got moved from Dharamshala, so very different grounds, very different conditions. Ahmedabad's like the MCG now, if you will, of India. It's bigger than the MCG. It's brand spanking new. It's got that Colosseum type vibe about it. What the deck's going to look like, hard to tell, but I can't imagine it's going to be
a seaming deck.
No, a seaming green top or a road. I'm going to imagine it's going to be low and spin friendly.
Yeah.
But just how far to the extremes that we've seen in Delhi and Nagpur it will be. I suppose we'll find out in a few days' time. The sad news today, really, that
confirmed today.
Yeah, that Pat Cummins is going to have to stay in Australia. So he flew back home after
the day after
the Delhi disaster, and his poor mother is terminally ill. So obviously thinking of Paddy Cummins and his family at this time. Anyone who has said, I've seen some stupid comments saying that he should be in India playing. Fuck that. Like, family comes first. Yep. Give Smudger 100%. The opportunity to be skipper again, which he did fill in for Camo earlier in the year.
It's his third time back as skipper.
Yep. And then Hazelwood heading home with that Achilles.
Couldn't get right. Yeah,
and look, he's
pushing it.
Yeah, and with Cummins actually being out of this game, it would have been an interesting discussion to have, if Hazelwood could get right. But you may as well just be in some elite sort of, sports rehab place in Australia and just put a line through this tour, because we need Josh Hazelwood to be fit for the Ashes. Yep. And then Davey Warner had that hairline fracture in his elbow, plus a concussion, plus some questionable form over the last, I think, 15 innings. I think I sent it through to you. You take out that double ton and it doesn't make for good reading.
No, yes. So he, of course, is coming home as well. And some chat about, is that potentially it for Davey Warner? Of course, being 36, hairline fracture in the arm, he's probably not going to batter huge leading up to the Ashes. Do they rush him back? I think it may depend on if they do have a decent replacement by that point, which is also debatable.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
I don't think coming back from a hairline fracture in your elbow in 4 months' time is necessarily rushing back.
No.
But yeah, preparation.
But I mean,
preparation.
Rushing him back into the team to get him prepped so he's ready for the Ashes, etc. So.
I think he'd be very hard done by to not play Test cricket again.
True.
I expect him to be
But
opening the batting in that first Test in England.
Though his average in England and against Stuart Broad is probably just as bad, if not worse, than his recent form. So that also may weigh into their selection a little bit as well.
Again, I think it'll be a travesty if he doesn't play Test cricket again. We'll
to go out like that, yeah.
He doesn't deserve that.
No.
He doesn't deserve that at all. So, in some good news for Aussie cricket fans, the $3 million man Cam Green should be set to go for this Test, as will Mitchell Starc. So you'd imagine both of them straight in. Starc pretty well close to being a like-for-like replacement with Cummins, although just being a left arm quick compared to a right arm. Similar abilities with the stick. Then Cam Green, you'd imagine, comes straight back into 6, which means, well, Warner goes out.
Head probably stays.
Do you think Head stays and opens?
I think so, because you maybe that, again, protects him a little bit. He can face a bit more of the hard ball and the fast bowlers up first.
Yep.
So he can get in a little bit, because once you're in, it's very hard to get out, as we've seen.
Very hard to get out.
Yes.
In India.
Yes, well, I'm saying once you get in, like you get past that 30 or 40 mark, they've been turning that into bigger scores.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yes.
Usman's done it once and Rohit's done it once.
Of the batsman. The tail ender.
They don't need to get in, mate.
Sorry, my point, I guess, is
you've got to break the 30 or 40 first.
Yeah, and I mean, like once the ball is getting softer, and like when you get deeper down, as we've seen from a lot of the innings, it's been a lot harder to get out the tail enders, especially the Indians.
I was going to say only the Indians.
So I guess for Head, that kind of makes sense. You kind of see that off, get in a little bit, and then you're with the ball as it's kind of wearing down. You're not just getting all the spin straight up. But having said that, the Indians do also like to open with Ashwin occasionally, so it might not matter. But I think Head's probably your go-to there. They have, so the other ones, Agar has gone home as well. He's not in line to get picked at all and doesn't look likely with the other spinners ahead of him. So they've sent him back. There was some chat that maybe Renshaw will get sent back as well, but there really hasn't been a good enough, I guess, sticks available. Like I said to you guys, Inglis and Short were the only guys recently in the Sheffield Shield to score tons. Outside of Cam Bancroft, who scored one today or yesterday?
I think he joined the squad today. It must have been yesterday.
Yesterday.
He leads the Shield for runs as well.
Yeah.
That's the big story.
He did get one in the innings before that, but
doesn't matter. He leads the Shield, mate. Leads the Shield. Redemption, I suppose, for Cam Bancroft is not guaranteed of a spot, but at least going back and joining the squad. That means Cricket Australia is repaying the faith and say you've done your time in the wilderness.
Yep.
I hope for him. We've spoken about it on the podcast before. We all think he was pretty much scapegoated throughout the whole sandpaper debacle.
Especially as the young fellow who was thrown at the walls.
The peer pressure, do it, bro, Faf only got 2 games, bro. You'll be right.
It's a David
Don't worry. There's only fucking 14 cameras out here. No one will see it. But he's done his time in the wilderness.
He struggled for runs essentially after that as well. I think his confidence was shot.
The mental resilience to come back.
The whole of
from
Australia hates you, and then he's come back and he's worked his way back. Best thing he could do is show up in India, score 200, and win us a test match. So.
I've got to say that'll be paying probably 501 to 1 for Cam Bancroft to go score 200 in a Metabad.
What I'm saying though is with Head probably is the opener. I don't think he's going to go straight in as replacement for Warner. I think he's more there as the backup now.
Oh, I agree.
Maybe I don't know if they want to punt Renshaw out and they want him in there in the middle order, which is not really.
Well, Cam Green comes back into that middle order, so maybe that's Renshaw is gone. I think Hanscom would be unlucky to miss out, given he's been okay. So I think the way that they will line up will be Uzi, Head, Smith, Labuskakne, Footbrush, Green, Carey, Starc, and then the 3 spinners in Lyon, the Murph, and Kuhneman.
Yeah, and if the deck's looking a bit more green, do you think they could have been for bowling? Or
Yeah, Scobo could be a shout. I doubt they go back to two quicks. Pat Cummins didn't bowl himself in that second innings.
And maybe should have a little bit more as well.
Yeah.
There's some chat about that, especially because you saw with the Indian guys, a little bit of the short stuff as well was working. Not like there's no whacker or anything like that, but the occasional kind of change it up. Like
Warner got hit in the head and then 2 balls later got hit in the arm.
Yeah, so,
or vice versa.
Yeah, a little bit of chin music to open it up a little bit and then get the spinners in there. Just change it up. I think he maybe bowled himself a little bit unders. And then also there was no other quick option. So he had to pace himself as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully with Greenback and if it's Stark, that they might get a little bit more of a bowl in this one. But we'll have to wait another 5 days, and then we'll probably see what the deck is.
Something like that.
Middle of next week, we'll find out what the deck's looking like.
Is it a Thursday? They've all been starting Thursdays, haven't they? Or one started on a Friday.
I think this one's a Friday as well. So we'll probably know Wednesday, Thursday what the deck looks like.
Can you chase up the opening date for
first of March?
That's Wednesday.
So
not too long. Not too long now.
No, pretty soon. On the Indian front, I don't think they change anything.
Nah.
I think they've changed out the Yadav for Aya, and I think they'll stay that way. I don't think they'll change that at all.
I still reckon our boy Gill needs to get a run. KL Rahul hasn't looked great.
Yeah, that is also a potential shout. Gill's been scoring runs, and Rahul's basically in the same boat that David Warner is at the moment, which is sinking. So, that could be a change.
But yeah, a team that's cleaned us up two tests in a row, you'd think they maybe go unchanged.
Yeah, and you can take some away from that game as it's like, hey, we were in this, and like for the Australians, we really shit the bed in this one. That's why we're we can come back and compete. So hopefully, you learn. Oh, Jimmy, I can see that button's green over there, you dickhead. Did you hit the record button? I did tell you to hit the record button.
We started.
Oh my God. This guy.
So are we live, but it's not recording?
No, it's fine. He's just not recording the audio again. After I told him to hit the button at the start.
So what does that mean?
No, that's fine. Well, I can fix it later.
Okay.
We're still working.
I just looked over and I could see it and I was like,
it's been a long week.
Come on, Come on. But I guess to finish my point is we can compete, and we've learnt a lot, hopefully, in these 2 losses. Hopefully the team got together, relaxed a little bit, said some words, etc., and they come in red hot for this one. And we dick the Indians.
Carey fell in a pool again or something. It's just something to get our juju back.
Yeah, exactly.
Team that's definitely not short on juju at the moment is the English cricket team.
Which is scary.
Bazball looks pretty fucking good at the moment. They absolutely killed it there in New Zealand. That's the wrong test there, monkey.
That's the last.
We already spoke about that.
Hit the live much. Yeah, we did talk about
it. We spoke about that. So one big in that first test, and the second test kicked off today there in Wellington.
Okay.
They were 3 for 21. A really good start by the New Zealand quicks in Southey and Matt Henry. They're getting rid of Crawley, Pope, and Duckett, who we said has been pretty good. Mm-hmm. Another bloke who's been pretty bloody good is Harry Brook, 184 not off 169 balls, striking at 109. The bloke has the most runs in the history of Test cricket for 9 innings.
I think he was most in 5 innings as well. Like any of those records, he's just breaking.
Yeah. So that's his 4th ton in 9 innings
on his way to 200. So
yeah. Well, that was looking likely.
And his running mate there too, Joe Root,
who's been searching for some form. Old Root 66. How's you don't see that often in Test cricket. The bloke batting 4 just makes his 100, and the bloke batting 5 is going on pushing for 200. It's a testament to how good this kid is. He's 23. He's really good in all formats. So he's going to be a real problem in the Ashes. And that we speak about this sort of questionable middle order of the Indians. This middle order of England is scary. It seems in New Zealand, I suppose those decks kind of similar to what they play on over there. So the Aussies, the Aussies be looking at this thinking, oh geez, might have our work cut out for us. No Trent Bolt in this one for the Kiwis. So that I suppose might have made a little bit of a difference. But Harry Brook, he's going to continue to break records the way that he's playing at the moment.
Yeah, and looking at those rankings as well, another man, Jimmy Anderson, up to number 1 Test bowler in the world at the moment
at the age of 40.
So
pretty nuts.
Some chat. I think they were quoting Stokes. So I just can't see him ever stopping. So, which is a concern.
How does your back deal with that load at that age?
He's obviously just has the style that's just low impact,
that's just that clean action.
His body obviously just
doesn't hit the crease that hard, I suppose.
Yeah, he's just adapted to it really well. Obviously puts the right work in and just knows his body well enough that
not the Sean Tate wild things, or slinging, malinging sort of action. He's a freak. Him and Broad, and now have the most wickets ever for a bowling tandem.
Taking over McGrath and Warne.
Sad day to be an Aussie when that happens.
1001 to 1002, I think.
Yeah,
now ahead of that, but that's changeover.
Back to what we were talking about last week. If Anderson plays all 5 of those Ashes games, which looks likely,
that shit's going to be hoopy.
Yeah, he's probably goes to number 2 all time and surpasses the late great Shane Warne.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for a quick to be
two,
it's nuts. They ended up getting rained out. They were only 65 overs in, so that run rate was about 5 and over. So the Bazball continues to work over there in the land of the long white cloud.
So it's worth bringing up here, the New Zealand's maybe will hope for rain for the rest of this. The only way the Australian team can miss out on the World Test Championship is if Sri Lanka beats the New Zealand team 2-0 in the upcoming series they're playing. So
is that in New Zealand?
Great question, Jimmy, if you can find that. But yes, so if Australia gets wiped by India, essentially,
which is looking like it might happen.
Yeah, we won't score any points. So
Sri Lanka plays 2 tests in New Zealand in March.
Sri Lanka is 3rd currently. For us to miss out, they would have to, of course, like I mentioned, beat New Zealand twice, and then they would play India in the World Test Championship, which would be crazy. I
think we're okay. Do us a favour, our Kiwi brothers, and don't get swept by Sri Lanka at home. I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yes. I thought I'd cover it because that's been floating around on the socials this week as well.
And a quick shout out to the Aussie girls team who are into the World Cup final.
Australia beats India.
That's the headline. Put that on the top of the podcast. Australia, father of India, as always. By 5 runs, they left it a little bit closer than we would have liked. And if that Indian girl knew how to slide her bat and not run out there, we probably would have lost this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very unlucky that it kind of wasn't slid and it dug into the turf and she pulled up essentially 6 inches short and got stumped. So.
Well, the bat was 6 inches short. Her entirety of her body was in the air over the crease.
Exactly. Yeah, it was all kind of just in line with each other, and it's you get taught that at a very young age and just got very unlucky in this one. Very good for the Australians.
So I think it's England and South Africa in the other semi. Which I believe might be on tonight, and the final is Sunday. It'll be reasonable viewing time for us here down under, obviously, over there in South Africa. Actually, I'm trying to think. It might be shit viewing time.
You thought it was in India, and they were away. South Africa. That's very far away.
I was sort of about halfway through. I've gone. No, it's actually just about, I guess probably in the middle of the night.
Depends on what time they play it.
Well, it would be evening their time, would it not?
15.
Yeah, it's midnight Sunday into Monday.
It's Monday at
3
o'clock.
That's midnight. 3 o'clock.
Your time at midnight. Yes, 3 o'clock their time. Yes, sorry.
3 o'clock over there in Cape Town. So good luck to the girls. The girls expected to win this tournament, so that does add a little bit of pressure. But just getting home there against India in the semis.
Any other cricket? There's Sheffield Shield going on at the moment.
There's all the Shield games are currently active. No, not
Pakistan
I think
Premier League, Pakistan Super League.
Yeah, there's a few T20 leagues going on.
All over the place. There's it's kind of getting into the territory. There's too much cricket.
Nah, I wouldn't go that far.
Set you up there.
I wouldn't go that far. I would. Well, when we're talking about too many Big Bash games and the Aussies not getting prepped for India, yes, I would say in that instance there is a little bit too much.
For the Australian Test team, yes, too much cricket.
Everyone else,
for the casual,
keep playing, keep playing. So we've got it's Friday here, so 5 days until that Ahmedabad Test. Look, can we just jag one, or just be competitive for
how long's the series? Is it 4?
To 4, yeah, and the next series goes to 5 in 4 years' time, I think. They're trying to get the Border Gavaskar Trophy to be on par with the Ashes, but the first way by doing that is to make it a 5 game series. So mad we can lose 5-0 in India in fucking 4 years' time rather than 4.
Well, say New Zealand do the job for us, it kind of becomes a 5-game series.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, in England.
Yeah, so 4 in India and 1 in the neutral in England. And when's that? That's middle of the year.
June, I think. Yeah, I think it's before the Ashes, is it not?
Yeah, well, I think yes, I agree. I believe it is before the Ashes. Can you double check the Australian Test upcoming schedule? Because outside of that Test game, is that the only game they'll have leading into the Ashes?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's the only thing scheduled. Well, I guess it is a good big game. At least it's in England.
That's actually, look, we talk about prep.
Yeah, that's not a bad prep.
A little World Test Championship game there. It must, because the next Ashes is in the next.
Change all formats to the Test.
It must be before, because the next Ashes will be the first lot of games into.
So June is Ashes.
Yeah.
So scroll up, you're going past it. India, they just don't have. No, that's it, isn't it?
No. So it
has WTC in front of it.
Yeah, but that's because
March.
that's
it's
on the current. Just Google when is the World Test Championship final. So the Ashes starts 16th of June. Did I say that correctly?
Yes. So between the middle of March to the end of March by the time.
Well, then you got the IPL in there.
Yeah. Between March and if the IPL's in there, I don't think they would play anything besides this.
The final is 7th of June. Yeah, so it's literally like the week before the Ashes starts. Yeah. So that's pretty sick viewing for us in the middle of our winter and the English summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be a big one. But outside of that, they won't play any other Test cricket from the end of March.
Tell you what, though, neutral venue in England against India, I don't hate that.
Yeah, I think it's.
I don't hate that. No, much better than playing India in India, of course, and much better than playing England in England.
Yeah, and India much better would feel much better than coming here to try and play in Australia.
Exactly. So for us, and we saw our Kiwi brothers, get the job done the last 2 year cycle. So look, maybe India will be our father again in India for Zip, and then maybe we become World Test champions.
Yep.
Who knows? Who knows?
Get one back.
Definitely rather play it over there than on a dust bowl in Delhi.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Was that played to our hands in the bowling attack?
Definitely.
Both sides?
Yeah, both sides of the ball.
Yeah,
it kind of negates these three all-rounder spinners.
Play three, I think.
Yeah, probably Patel misses out.
Yeah.
But we're getting way ahead of ourselves. We've got 2 tests to worry about first, and New Zealand to do a job against Sri Lanka.
Actually, I did see some chat. Washington Sundar as well. Like, he's just floating there waiting for his chance too. They just got so many good guys that can spin and bat. It's just
Washington Sundar, the Gabatoir.
Yeah,
that was a good video. That one, wasn't it?
Enough cricket.
Yeah, that'll do us.
Let's get stuck in some rugby league, Jimmy.
Let's talk some rugby league. Now, you're less confident than I am about the season starting as scheduled next Thursday night. We still don't have an agreement between the Rugby League Players Association and the NRL. I doubt that games actually get affected because of this. What's your thoughts there?
I think they, during this week, kind of re-announced the financials. So I think they've agreed on total amount. I think it's just allocation now. What's interesting, NRL, of course, released their stats during the week that they made 590 mil revenue, which I think ends up being about like 40 or 50 mil profit from all accounts. Significantly less than the AFL. The AFL was beating the NRL handedly in revenue at the moment. They've got like a 2.5 billion lead in the last 10 years.
Jeez.
So, yeah, they've the NRL recovered better from COVID than the AFL did, but the AFL's made almost like $150 extra million last year over what the NRL, kind of what they did the previous year. So the AFL's going from strength to strength currently.
And that's a lot of that is membership base and attendance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the TV numbers and TV deals are pretty similar.
I say similar, but you could also say maybe more viewership because it's more the whole of Australia versus...
well, it's more states, but population-wise, you've got New South Wales and Queensland.
Yeah. So, I think they're comparable, probably fan base. Maybe they've got more religious fans that will turn out to games, which is probably the big difference.
You know what? Half of it is Sydney and getting to Homebush. That's literally half of the problem.
Yeah, like you regularly get 30,000 into AFL games and you regularly get 10,000 into an NRL game in Sydney. So, that's probably where the big difference is. But outside of that, AFL chat, the Tasmanian thing looks like it's getting very, very close. AFL reaffirmed another 250 odd mil or something like that to help the Tasmanian license get up.
360, and I actually put it in the final round, so we didn't start the NRL chat talking about AFL.
We'll finish off the NRL chat.
We're overlapping on finances, sorry. And I'm rambling here. But either way, back to the NRL, I think the total number of like 1.85 billion. No, that doesn't seem right.
It sounds like Dr. Evil.
I'm sure. No, that sounds about right. 1.85 billion in total. No, that can't be right.
Wrap it up, brother. This is when the music comes on at the Oscars.
Yeah.
I thought that was bad.
Actually, no, maybe it's 1.85 mil per for the women's stuff. They agreed on the money for the women. That's what I'm just trying to remember the storyline. Either way, they've agreed on the amounts, and they just got to work out the allocation, which is probably a good step towards that maybe they'll get something sorted. The fact of the matter is they haven't got something sorted. The game starts on Thursday. They probably won't do too much over the weekend, so they got Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to get it sorted. So cutting it tight. Maybe Thursday's game gets affected. I hope round one doesn't, but very rugby league that they would miss potential games. We will see a lot of the big name players are on that board and have been talking, hey, we're happy to sit out until we get something signed and delivered, which happens a lot in major league sports in the US. It'd be probably a first in Australia for a very, very long time that something like this would happen. So part of me is kind of interested to see if it did happen. And rugby league,
we've finally gotten to the basis of it. You want rugby league to implode.
Yeah, but also but it's also rugby league, and it loves to implode. Like it loves to shoot itself in the foot. So it'd be very much on brand for them to miss games. But we will see.
Yeah. Amongst any news down there from that article, or it's just kind of stale, matey?
I was just waiting for Sean to keep continuing his
100 million trillion billion squillion skippity-doo scoopity-doo.
No, not really. I think the headlines are sort of like obviously with the increase in the salary cap, it's not necessarily the holdout's not necessarily about money. It's more about the what was it called? The future fund for medical support.
Mm-hmm. Allocation. It's like, what are, besides the women's game, besides, the medical stuff, where's all that money going to be spread out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it.
So the big story, of course, was the NRL released and say, hey, we agreed on this number. And then the Players Association came out and said, that was the number we said in December, and nothing's changed since then. We agree on that number. But stop trying to promote it as new news. Like we're still stuck, we're still stalemated. So we'll have to see what happens.
That's it.
Can they progress over the weekend or over the early days of next week? Otherwise, what is it? Is it Storm?
Eels
Thursday? Mm-hmm. Maybe a quiet one.
Yeah. Outside of that, probably more just fake news or whatever, but Nathan Cleary and Kurt Catewell have both come out saying that they're prepared to sit out.
Yeah, both are sit on the board or the representatives in the Player Association.
And Penrith plays Brisbane Friday night.
Yeah.
So my thinking of what happens is they won't get it done for Thursday. Thursday game will get cancelled. It'll be a shit show. Win or call the rugby.
Turn it up.
Win or call the rugby.
Turn it up.
Win or call the rugby league. The headquarters and be like, hey, sort your shit out. We're not paying you until you get the stuff sorted. They'll be like, fuck, and then they'll sort it out, and then we'll get game Friday night.
You heard it here on the Esky first.
That's my timeline.
The season opener gets delayed, but we're here on Friday.
They cancelled the season launch.
Yeah, but that's not a game.
I know, but it is like they're launching the season. They've cancelled it, so they didn't upset the players.
Season's cancelled.
Yeah.
Luckily, those 160 US players are on standby.
I was going to say, so the flip side of the coin is the ARL commissioner or commission can lock all the players out and withhold their pay and, bring over 160 odd players from the US.
That's what happened in the NFL, the lockout. They lock them out and, kind of force negotiation.
Keanu Reeves, the replacements. Good movie. St Helens actually beat Penrith in the World Club Challenge. It was about 38 degrees during the day, and then the big storm rolled through, humid conditions. The Panthers pretty much full strength in that game other than Dylan Edwards and Liam Martin. Do we need to start putting a little bit of respect on St Helens / the Super League?
I think so, because I think it was Gus had the quote that maybe there should be a mercy rule in this game because they're going to put 40 on them by half time.
All the podcasts and media that I was listening to in the lead up shared the same view. I think the line was 19.5.
Yeah, and I think people probably should have realised post the World Cup that the English squad is quite good.
Yeah,
there's a lot of talent there. Yeah, exactly. Like Wellesby is an example. They've got some talent there and some chat there. Probably some NRL clubs chasing his signature. St Helens, of course, being one of the premier teams over there, will have a lot of the English representation in their team anyway.
Yeah, they've won 4 in a row.
Yeah,
so absolute dynasty over there.
Yeah. So yes, I think where they were underappreciated or underdog definitely in this one, when they maybe shouldn't have been.
Yeah, and it meant a lot to him. I remember now I did have an idea for Shout a Beer, a bloke that probably doesn't mind a little schooner and is double the age of the bloke that I shouted a beer to. Their skipper, James Roby, is 37. He's played over 500 games of rugby league, and he was out there being their skipper and leading them to this World Club Challenge at the age of 37, playing in about the same temperature down under. So a very impressive performance there from him. So, got to put a little bit of respect on the old St Helens Saints. You'd imagine next Super League season they're going to be the team to beat again. All right, that gets us into the moment that we've been waiting for. I've been excited about it, our NRL preview. So we're going to do half the teams. We're doing all the non-Sydney teams this evening. So that's 8 teams, starting with the Brisbane Broncos. They came 9th last year. We were all around about that in our prediction at the start of the year. They should have really finished in the top 8. A little bit of a capitulation. Lost 5 of their last 6 towards the end of the year. Yep. I suppose the big news for them was the signing of Reece Walsh coming back to Brisbane over from the Warriors. He's under a little bit of an injury cloud at the moment, I think, coming back from a head knock. So they're not sure if he's going to play next Friday night, given the games go ahead. Yes. And we spoke a few weeks ago about them getting big Marty Kapow into their middles. They've lost a few, although no real big names. Tyson Gamble was playing a bit for him, but he goes over to the Knights. Ryan James retired. Brenko Lee to the Dolphins. Jake Turpin, he goes to the Roosters. Thoughts you sort of semi-interested in Brisbane Broncos? A lot of off-field drama as well through the off-season.
Pretty standard for
pretty standard Brisbane Rugby League.
Yeah. I think I said they'd finished 10th last year, and I said the same. I think that's kind of where they are. Their team heavily relies on Adam Reynolds.
Yeah, doesn't it? You can tell the games that he played last year, they're a different team.
Yeah, exactly. And when he was injured, that was where they lost a lot of their games. Towards the end of the year, he wasn't playing a lot of those. So, that's kind of where they fall apart. Outside of that, they're pretty talented across the board. They're a Brisbane team. They're meant to be a premier club, so they're going to have talent. Walsh back is good for them. And Cobbo might play fullback in the interim. He did in the trial games.
How good is he?
He's a talent.
Yeah, so. He's even better than he was last year, and he was pretty bloody good last year.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what the long-term plan is there with Walsh and Cobbo, but we will have to see what Kevin Walters does. I think probably make or break year for Walters. He really needs to push them into the 8 another year outside of it, and his job might be in trouble, especially if Benny Eichen wants to head up Queensland Rugby League. So there could be a bit of a change in the guard there. So I think they're probably where they were last year. I just don't think they've moved too much.
Yeah,
health depending. If Adam Reynolds plays the whole year, I think they make that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think
he hasn't historically played a full season.
Well, so many of their guys tend to have that injury sort of prone nature. Katoni Staggs struggles to finish seasons. Cobbo, although young, has struggled to play whole years. But I think you're right. Yeah, if the and you can say that about any team really. If they don't get injured, if their best players don't get injured, they play well.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they've gotten better than last year. Reece Walsh coming in is big. But I don't see them making the top 8 this year. I've gone 12th. I don't know if I've gone a little bit too harsh on them. I just feel like teams like the Dogs and the Tigers, who we'll look at next week, have gotten better, whereas Brisbane kind of there or thereabouts.
They need to grow their combination. So like they're the hooker. We'll probably talk mostly spines with these teams. Walters there is maybe a little bit unders as a hooker, like a below average starter. You need to see Ezra Mann kind of grow as a 6 and, pair really well with Adam Reynolds. That's maybe where they can take a step this year, is if Ezra Mann takes another step. And if Walsh is healthy, then that's, they've got 3 good options in the 4. So, yeah, that means they'll probably play pretty well. But, I don't think they can rely on Mann to lead this squad if Reynolds misses time.
And he's just young. He's electric when he was on. He was a little bit rocks or diamonds last year. It was definitely his...
He needs that veteran presence next to him. So.
Yeah, who better than Adam Reynolds?
Exactly.
Just looking at their projected starting 17 for round 1, Reece Walsh, Corey Oates, Katoni Staggs, Herbie Farnworth, as long as he's not too pissed off those beers that you shouted him.
I only shouted him once.
Selwyn Cobbo, Ezra Mann, Adam Reynolds, and then into Tommy Flegler, Billy Walters, Payne Haas, Kurt Capewell, Jordan Rickey, Pat Carrigan. We might just do starting 13s. What do you reckon?
Yeah,
projected. Yeah.
I think that's compared to where they were a year ago, where they could barely get a Queensland player in the team. They've now got a bunch in there, especially their second row is, growing essentially. And of course they got Payne Haas, who's the forever man, 80-minute man playing out the front there. So they're a solid team across the board. They just maybe lack the X factor. The X factor is probably Ezra Mann and say Walsh and Cobbo, and they really need to take a step for this team to push into the 8.
Reading at that team, I was like, oh, geez, I think I might have undersold them here. But, time will tell, I suppose. Monks, you had them around about the same, did you?
Yeah, so last year I picked him as 12th, obviously coming in 9th. I think you're right. They haven't necessarily gotten any better. I just couldn't fit them any lower than 10th. So I've gone with Sean and at 10 there.
Fair few teams that are probably going to be worse might be wearing the hat of one.
That's it. Probably around that 10 mark. Obviously, as you mentioned, big year for Walters. Try and push him into the 8. Try and make a finals run. But I don't think they haven't really improved too much. Obviously, aside from probably Reece Walsh.
It's on the young fellas. This is a youngish club with the veteran and Adam Reynolds there leading them around. They kind of have to take a step in their own games to then push this team into the finals.
Yeah, that's it.
Boom, boom. That's the intro for the Canberra Raiders. Fucking clap. 2022, played very, very well in the finals. They did sneak into the 8, but then
they won 8 from their last 10.
Yeah, so they came storming home and then beat the Melbourne Storm, the perennial bogey, thorn in the side of the Melbourne Storm, the old Canberra Raiders, and then they got absolutely dished by Parramatta in the second final there. We hit the nail on the head. We went 8-8-9. They finished 8th, so got it right last year. Are we down on them or up on them this year, Sean? We're about the same.
Again, I think about the same. The Raiders are that perfect team that will always kind of fits in their plan into the 8. So they're always going to be around that spot. That's why I've got them 9th at the moment, because I think maybe they miss out. The big in was, well, he's not really a big in, but that Danny Levi is probably going to nick that spot from Wolford and Starling there.
Bit stiff on those two, who both played unreal last year. Like, you develop young guys and then you bring in a bloke who is a good hooker but has been playing in the Super League.
Yeah, I think they just like him more as a guy that can play big minutes versus Starling off the bench, who can wither in defence a little bit, and then Wolford, who maybe doesn't add enough, that maybe as a more complete player, Levi maybe adds more to the squad. It's interesting to tell. Adam Elliott's probably a big out for them. Josh Hodgson, who's gone to the Eels, was hurt really for them last year, so not a huge loss there. Chance, maybe only because Savage is now out for between 6 to 8 weeks with the fractured jaw, which is unfortunate, which means Rapana's got a big chance there to make the fullback his own. Potentially. I know they tried Chris early in that trial match and it didn't really work out. So
word is it might be Chris as well next week.
I just don't see he's a fullback. So
no, he's a good centre, but it's a different position. Letting CNK go, obviously, to say to Savage, the one jersey is yours. It stings. An unfortunate break. Yeah. Did you guys see the scan? I think NRL Physio posted it. It was nasty. It was the whole way through. From the top to the bottom of the jaw.
So what's that? Is that screws and wires and things?
Yeah, there'd be some sort of hardware in there, and I think it's the old eating through a straw for a little bit in your recovery. Such a shame, because I actually listened back to last year, and you were like, this Xavier Savage, man, like, he's so good, and I'm like, yeah, I know he's highly touted, but we obviously saw how good he can be.
He's got talented, and it supposedly he'd struggled with his cardio. He really worked hard in the off season. He's kind of got in. He's really kind of building into that professional that you want to see at the fullback and grow, but I just, you lose it. And like you said, if he's got to drink through a straw for most of that, how much weight does he drop off as well? Like how much, though it's say 6 to 8 weeks to get back, is he then going to take him another month to put on, say, the size he needs to get back in to play first grader? It's a big one. Which is unfortunate. I think the real difference for the Raiders in their run home was Fogarty. So him and Whiten have to make a good tandem. Whiten has to, again, same thing as I said last year, not just rely 100% on his running game. He needs to have the ball playing aspect as well. That makes him more dangerous.
No late night wrestling outside of a Canberra nightclub.
With his cousin and Latrell Mitchell. I think Michael Maguire probably there will be helpful for them because they add a bit of grit. So they got two of the grittiest coaches in football. Hope maybe that gets rid of the fader tag a little bit.
That's been the problem over the last few years, hasn't it? These first half leads that they haven't been able to show up in the second half.
They've got a good pack. Is aging. They've got some good young talent in the backs there, but without Savage, there maybe it loses a little bit of that X we were talking about. So. I think they can lay a good platform. I think their halves will be good. Maybe they struggle for points out of their backs. I think they're just kind of one of those teams that will probably win a lot of gritty games and will just be in the hunt come the last month or two of footy. Very much reminiscent of last year.
Yeah, I've got them 10th. I think Savage out hurts. They outside of Levi, no really big name signings. They lose Elliott, Hodgson, CNK. I think they'll be pushing for the 8. Their pack on paper is really good. We'll go through that in a second. You've got them a little bit lower. Yeah.
Just looking at those outs, it's obviously a big hit to their team. It does put a lot of reliability on their pack. Papali really needs to sort of be able to carry them through this season. That being said, they might have a bit of fight of them in them with a few players coming up for contract this season, some improved. So I might have gone unders on them. But yeah, it's hard. Like the faders tag is not something to really not look too far ahead of. So yeah.
Their predicted round one team, according to NRL.com, is Rapana, Kotrick, Timoko, Chris, Smith, Shields, White and Fogarty, Papali'i, Levi, Gula, Young, Whitehead, Tarpanay. So that pack's pretty handy on paper. Spine's not half bad.
He's going to play lock. He played in the front row most of last year.
You reckon Gula goes to the bench and some sort of iteration of that?
Yep.
Sportsbet has them at $23 to win the whole thing. I don't know if we said Broncos. Broncos are 18s. The Dolphins.
Is that going to be their call? Is that what everyone in the stadium is going to be doing that? So
you'd want it. Yeah.
It is now.
Fuck the Viking clap off. Just get 18,000 people there at Redcliffe. Tell you what, we spoke about that stadium up there. That nice sort of balcony, having a schnitty and a schooner, watching the football, and then yelling out a big every time they go in. All right, the Dolphins. They still don't have a location attached to the name. They just are.
Yeah, they're from the
town of the.
Can you find where the town of the is, Jimmy?
I'm sure there would be one. I'm going to go Eastern Europe. There might be a the.
Yeah, I'm feeling Germany or something like that.
The will be the in the Germans. All right, $61. So Sportsbet has them equal last for.
Who are they equal with?
Newcastle.
Ooh, interesting.
You're a little bit higher on them. You reckon they might be sort of that next sort of tier off the cellar dwellers?
Yeah, I think everyone's probably overhyping the fact that they're going to be bad the whole year. So they're just assuming that expansion club, they're just going to come in and suck. I think they've done a good job with getting a forward pack. Yes, it is maybe a little bit aging, but it's a veteran pack that knows how to play good rugby league. They've got arguably the greatest rugby league coach of all time coaching them.
Yep.
So I think they can win some games. I think they got a better roster in, say, that forward pack than some of those teams below them. And yes, they're probably going to get blown out by the Roosters and Penrith, etc. But I think they'll be competitive with those teams in the bottom 8, and I reckon they can jag some of those games because I think they'll be close. And I put a lot of steel and the Wayne Bennett factor that I think they could probably finish. I got them 13th. And I think they could finish there.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. I've got them with the spoon. Yes, agree that forward pack is pretty good, and bringing 3 guys across from the Melbourne Storm that know each other's game definitely helps. I think you have to judge a team off its spine, and I just don't see it there. Hammer's going to have questions. Playing fullback, he's a great centre, but also sort of missed time last year, and Scotty Drink sort of essentially took any sort of fullback role from him at the Cowboys. And then going into today's sort of yarn that Milf might be on the out.
Yeah, well, he didn't train with the starting squad today. He was with the training with the reserves off to the side. So, and the chat is that he'll be dropped for the first round. But they do have huge raps on the young fella,
Isaiah Katoa.
And Sean O'Sullivan was good.
He was good last year
in an elite Penrith team.
Yeah, that's the caveat, isn't it? Like, can you put any 7 around? Isaiah Yeo and Dylan Edwards and Jerome Luai, and they go well. Yeah,
and maybe, but then also Nathan Cleary's been pretty good. You can't shit on his ability. So
no,
yes, you're probably not getting Nathan in Sean O'Sullivan. But
I'm going to go out on him and say you're definitely not getting Nathan Cleary. No,
but I think he can do a job for them. So, and I think Wayne's really going to get stuck into them to try and steal them together as being like a hard, gritty football team. Maybe they don't score a whole bunch of points, but they, defense. The teams that played deep in the finals last year were the better defensive teams. So if you can keep them out of your end zone and you're in goal, you will be competitive and be close. And I think if they keep games close, they will jag a couple. So I don't think they're going to go on a 20? Is it 26 rounds? 26 or 24 with the buyers. 24. Go 0-24. Like I don't think.
No, I think they'll win football games. I just don't think they're going to win too many.
Yeah, I think they'll win enough to move up and not get the spoon.
Monks, you've sort of sat on the fence between me and Sean.
Yeah, literally that. Like, I mean, they've got a pretty good side. There's probably teams that I might think are below them. Just win a even 15. Well, that's not even. That's an odd 15.
It's halfway between us. I'll pay that even. They might line up something like this with Hammer at 1, Jermaine Asako at 2. That Oliver Gildart, apparently is pretty good. Then it could be Ewan Aiken or Brenko Lee in the centres. Edric Lee, seems Isaiah Katoa will play 6. Sean O'Sullivan 7. Jesse Bromwich, Jeremy Marshall-King over from the Dogs. Mark Nichols, the best-looking prop in the NRL. And then Felice Kafusi, Kenny Bromwich, and Tom Gilbert, who was very good last year for the Cowboys. A few other good sort of names, and Jared Wallace and Ray Stone coming off an ACL, so they'll give him a bit of
Cody
grunt.
Nicarima there.
Nicarima, yeah, pretty good utility.
He'll come in and play 9 for him as well.
Yeah, he could play 9. I wonder if Nicarima starts at 6 and let Katoa sort of just learn from them up for a little bit.
Potential.
Find out next week. The Gold Coast Titans, they finished last year in 13th. They're paying $46 to win the whole thing. Pretty close with them last year as well, 11, 12, 13. So not bad there. Do we think they've gotten better? Have they gotten worse? Are they about the same?
In theory, they should be better because Foran should play 6.
Yep.
Which probably should put Brimsmead back at fullback.
Yep.
I'm not sure where you play Campbell then.
I wonder if he'll be the 14, like use him as a utility, but he's too small to kind of be a true utility.
Yeah, he's like he's a 1 or maybe he's a small running 6. Like it kind of loses a spot for him there. Who's playing 7 for them? Because the other option is maybe 4 and 7 and Brimo like he's.
It's meant to be that Tanner Boyd who finished the season for them and played pretty good. So according to NRL.com, they've got Brimo at 1, Foz at 6, Tanner Boyd at 7. Sam Verrill's a pretty good player. Couldn't get consistency with the Roosters, so should improve them from a spine point of view. Again, a lot of outs. They didn't lose superstars, but just a lot of outs. We just spoke about Jared Wallace, Greg Marzu. I suppose wingers don't really matter too much losing them, but they lose both of their wingers from last year in Marzu and Corey Thompson. Kevin Proctor vaping before games or whatever it was. They didn't really extend him too much after that. He's off to England. And just a sort of a long list of outs without possibly losing superstars. I don't think they're better than last year. I think a lot of teams below them have improved. That's why I've got them at 15th for the season.
Same there. Like outside of Big Tino, I would rate David Fafita. He's had a pretty down year. And I'm not sure if this is the right club for him to kind of regain his best form. And you've got there, the backs are kind of a bit so-so. Compared to the other teams in Queensland, I don't think they're as good. So,
can you scroll up, Monks?
So I put him down to 15.
When's Dave Fafita off contract? So there's a contract year.
He's in chats with the Raiders at the moment.
Dragons wouldn't mind him. Much the same,
Yeah, much the same.
Yeah.
Couldn't fit them any lower than 14.
You got it at 14.
Yeah.
Where have you got the Dragons then, just quietly? We'll find out next week.
Yeah.
We'll find out next week. Just hopefully a good note for them is one to look out for in Lofi Khan Pereira. He's fast as fuck me. He scored 4 in that trial against the Dolphins, including a 12-minute hat-trick. 21 tries for Burleigh Bears last year in just 16 games. Could be this year's Coca-Cola. Telltale Cola from Manly, who himself is fast as fuck. So imagine him scoring a few meaties for the Gold Coast Titans this year even.
Yep.
NRL.com has that team being AJ Brimson, Jojo Fafita, Aaron Shupp, Phil Sammy, Khan Pereira, Foz, Boyd, Mo Futuaka, who's played a bit of Origin, Sammy Verrills comes in from the Roosters, Big Tino, Dave Fafita, Bo Firma, who had a really good year last year, a bit of a breakout year for him, and then Aaron Clark with Jaden Campbell as a utility. The Melbourne Storm, 5th last year, one and done. The Raiders, just spoke about the Canberra Raiders, really shocking them down at Amy Park in that elimination final last year. Bellyache would not have been happy about that whatsoever. They are $7. They're behind Penrith and the Roosters as third favourites to take out the whole thing this year. What do we reckon this year for the Storm, Shauna?
I've got them at 4 because their big issue is going to be the losses in the pack. Mm-hmm. So we talked about the Bromers brothers, we talked about Kaufusi and Cheese as well. Yes, they do have Harry Grant there, so they should be okay for a hooking option, but he's maybe not going to get as much as a rest. And the other side of it, they're a bit banged up in the backs too. They've got some injuries. Pappenhauser's probably going to miss the first month to 2 months of the year, and they'll probably take a slow burn with him. Karen Munster could miss the first week as well. They do have Welsh, who's the captain.
Coming back off an Achilles.
So
he should be good to go.
That was a long time ago, that Achilles. So he should be okay. But also, he hasn't played a lot of football there. So he probably want to take his time, get back into it. They, on paper, their strongest squad. They are very, very good. So I still feel like they'll finish 4th in the top 4. Might be a rough start of the year, though.
Yeah, I've got them 5th just because it's Bellyache and the Melbourne Storm. But on paper, there's an argument to be made that this is the weakest Melbourne Storm team that we've seen for quite some time.
That quote's probably what's going to come back to bite us. They'll be premiers and
100%.
They'll drop 5 games all year or some shit like that.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know if they can win the whole thing, but Sportsbet obviously thinks that they're third in line to do it. Tarek Sims comes in, but I don't think Sims in replaces the Bromwich boys and Felice Kaufusi and the Cheese. So they're going to have to really rely on a lot of young talent. Yeah. We'll go through that starting lineup in a second. A lot of young, sort of unfamiliar names there as well. We didn't mention Tui Kami. He's out for 6 weeks with a foot injury. So they're pretty banged up.
Well, Olam as well.
Yeah, Olam. Yeah, elbow. Yeah. So no Pappy, no Olam, no Kami Kamitha to start off with. Word I'm hearing is Munster should be good to go. It's just osteitis. Well, it's he said it's niggling. He's had it all of the back end of last year. See it a lot in Aussie rules players. People are involved in a lot of kicking. But I think he will play next Thursday when that game goes ahead as per schedule. And
they'd like an extra rest week because they're banged up.
He wouldn't mind it. And Xavier Coates as well. Had a bit of a rough World Cup. He's coming back from a hammy, but by all accounts should be good to go. You can't rule out the Melbourne Storm, can you?
No.
That's why everyone's sort of, it's like stepping on eggshells. Yeah. I say, are they weak on paper? Maybe, perhaps, don't know. It's the Storm. Watch, 3 of these young kids that we've never heard of absolutely tear it up.
Yeah, well, Hughes and Munster both missed time last year. It was a down year for the Storm, and they still finished 5th. So, I think they can still play very, very well.
Where did you have them?
I've got them 6. I think they've lost a lot of experience in that pack, and coming in 5th last season.
Go one down.
Yep. Yeah. Like you said, you can't really ever count them out.
No. Yeah. Not with Bellyache at the helm and guys like Munster and Jerome Hughes and Harry Grant.
Yep.
Couldn't find a but could find a this.
Yes. There is a this. A commune in France, in the Ardennes. As of 2018, a population of 202 people.
202 in this. Surely there's a the. Man, he couldn't find it.
Couldn't find it. There was a list of weird place names.
Let's go into the Knights. They actually do have a place. It's called Newcastle.
Niggets.
They came 14th last year. They're paying $61. We did mention it's them and the Dolphins who are right down the bottom according to the bookies. We were close last year. I had them 13 amongst 12. They finished 14th. A lot of people are down on the Newcastle Knights this year. Their ins include Adam Elliott. Tyson Gamble, I don't know if he'll actually get a role. We'll look at their projected best 13 in a second. Jackson Hastings comes in. Lockie Miller. We've got to talk about Lockie Miller. He's a 28-year-old rugby sevens convert. He played a little bit for the Sharks last year. He's projected to get the 1 jersey with Ponga to 6. Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see if that actually eventuates. Their pack got a bit weaker. They lose Mitch Barnett to the Warriors. They lose Big David Clemmer. So that's 2 of their big middles gone. And Chris Randall, who played a role for them last year in the absence of Brayley. He goes over to the Titans. Just this week, Dom Young getting snapped up by the Roosters. Again, do wingers change your outlook? He was pretty bloody good last year.
Yeah, well, he scored a lot of their tries, so a lot of on the back end of their points. So he's happy to see out the year, but he also may get traded. And the chat was probably for an impact forward. It was the chat from the Roosters. So one of the young fellas in the Roosters squad that coming up.
Which makes sense, what we just spoke about, them losing a lot of their pack.
Yeah, but Roosters may not want to give that up with Angus Crichton taking a leave from the game for a couple of weeks to deal with his injuries and the mental health. The concussions, I think, was the ongoing issues with that. For Newcastle, I think Adam O'Brien's not a very good coach, so I've got him finished 16th.
You got him or Hook to lose their job first?
Ooh, I've got Hook. I think Hook will be gone the first month. If they start slow, I think he's gone.
Lucky we got the bye first up. Let's go. I've got them 15th. So I had the Dolphins below them and...
Titans?
Did I say Titans 16th? I thought I had Titans 14th.
Yeah.
I've got double up 15th. Okay, so I'm going to go Titans.
Flip a coin.
I'm going to go Titans ahead of Newcastle. I'm going to go Newcastle 16.
Yeah. And I think
2 teams 15th. Nice. Exact same points difference. Can't split them.
This team will live and die with Kalen Ponga as a 6.
Yes, again, we sort of spoke about it before with Brisbane. Different team Reynolds is playing. Ponga is so pivotal for this team.
Yeah, and if playing at 6, he needs a good platform, and we don't think they've got the forwards to be able to set it for him.
He's kind of like Ben Hunt, isn't he? He's such a good team, such a good player on a pretty ordinary team.
Did you see him try to give his headgear to a young fella after the trial game?
No.
And it was young fella is a fan of the opposition, like he was on the ground doing, I guess, the kids' tunnel, whatever you want to call it, as the players are coming off. So Ponga leans down to give it to him, and he's just like, no.
Didn't take it?
No, he didn't take it. He rejected poor Kalen.
Jeez, I thought kids these days would at least take it and then do like a cod tea bag on it or something, start Fortnite dancing on it or something.
Maybe he was he's a bit awestruck that Kalen Ponga wanted to give him his headgear, but he was like, no, thanks, I'm all good.
I'll go to the big kid and take it off of Kalen and maybe jag an interview for our up and coming podcast next time. You kind of feel for him a little bit because we saw how good and how dangerous he looked when he had a Maroons jersey on. But how's that supporting cast going to look?
Be interesting with Hastings coming back, how that kind of forms.
He looked pretty good last year.
I think for this team to be good, a lot of their guys have to play overs, which is going to be difficult.
So a big year for the Saifidi boys. Big for Bradman Best as well. Like that's a good centre pairing with Gagai and Bradman Best if they can stay healthy.
They can keep young as well. Like they do have some guys with some talent there, but like I said, they will need to take a big step for them to progress.
Yeah.
You got them even lower than us.
Yes.
Even lower than tied 15th.
Yes, even lower than tied 15th. You'll be happy about this one considering some of the other teams I picked down there at the bottom of the ladder. I've got them coming in at last. That saves the Dragons.
We've gone real bullish on our team this year. Real bullish. Real nuts on the table kind of stuff.
We have,
We're fighting over him in Mudgee, so it's all good.
That's it.
No, Mudgee melee. How's that for a headline? Melee.
Melee and Mudgee.
Oh, my God.
I think Ponga's got a big year to sort of prove his worth. I didn't realise that
he might be moving.
Yeah,
no, he's got a big contract.
It's the Saifidi.
Oh, so yeah, it's quite cool. He lost it, of course, for his in the toilets last year. So
he was just celebrating buying a house. His mate was holding his hair up.
Yeah, he was just having a chunder.
Crossing swords.
That's what Jack Ginnivan was doing in the toilets this week too. Let's go through that projected starting 17. We spoke about Lockie Miller. It's going to be a big task to get a number 1 jersey given to you at the age of 28 with like 6 games of NRL under the belt. But obviously he's an athlete. Dom Young for now, unless the Roosters try to make an early push for him.
It's interesting because the Roosters sell was they might play him in the centres, and if you look at the Knights centres, he probably wasn't going to get a go there anytime soon.
With Gagai and Best, that's strange because he's such a good winger. Like he's a good finisher.
But in England, he played mostly.
He played in the centres. Yeah. You've been watching Super League, bro.
Yeah, of course. I'm watching all the rugby league. It's interesting because it could create a bit of a domino effect with some of the backs with the Roosters, because if they're going to push him into the centres, potentially the guys playing in the centres, you can't have more than that. It's more than the 2. So one of those moves out. I think Joseph Swally, South's still hunting him big time. So. But he wants to play fullback, so I don't think he's he's not going to beat out Trell Mitt. So
Dragons.
Dragon should have some cash lying around with a bunch of nobodies they're paying at the moment. So.
Got that, professional athletes. Where do we get to? Dom Young, Dan Gagai, Bradman Best, Greg Marzu, Kalen Ponga, Jackson Hastings, Jacob Saifidi, Jaden Brayley. That's a big in for them. Was hurt most of last year. Daniel Saifidi, Tyson Frizzell, Lachlan Fitzgibbon, Adam Elliott. It's not the worst starting 13 on paper. Depth is going to be an issue big time for the Knights.
And like I said, I'm not a fan of their coaching. So.
Prove us wrong. Be the Cowboys of this year. We'll talk about them in a second. But before we get to them...
Oh, did I not write my New Zealand dudes? No, it does matter.
That's all right.
I put it in. It's
just write it in and write it wrong like I did with the Knights having 2 teams coming 15th.
The next weird name.
He's paying attention in the end of the day.
Yeah. Not a township. Ticklecock Bridge.
Ticklecock Bridge.
Castleford, England.
No, Ticklecock. Jeez. Having a look at that bridge and that name, it's a seedy looking bridge.
Very seedy looking bridge.
And I wonder why it is called Ticklecock Bridge.
Jimmy, can you just
confirm.
Scroll down for me? I'll tell you when to scroll. Stop.
Yeah, you're trying to work out.
Adam and 14.
14th is where you have the New Zealand Warriors. They finished 15th last year, but they returned to New Zealand after years, being good blokes and, keeping rugby league alive and taking on, Terrigal and Gosford as their adopted home, but they do go back to New Zealand. I've got him at 14, Mugs 15, so none of us super high on the Warriors.
I think he's got 11.
That was last year.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
14, 13, 11.
Yeah,
Mugs got a bit higher. They've basically bought a whole new club with all their ins at the moment, so they're big turnover there. They do have a Metcalf, not DK, unfortunately, for them.
Apparently he's pretty handy. So I don't know if he'll get a start straight up, but there is word that he may try to learn from SJ and may even be the successor for when SJ is ready to hang up the boots. I'll bring up their best...
Because we mentioned Chance come across. Dylan Walker maybe.
I thought they were going to use him as a utility, yeah. Sorry, I should have had this ready to go.
They also have Martin as well, who's fullback for Brisbane.
Yeah, so this from NRL.
Oh, they've got Martin playing.
They've got Tamare Martin playing 6, who had that crazy recovery from a brain injury.
Played well at fullback for Brisbane last year.
He did. So a few options there that they could go with the spine. Word is that CNK will get that one jersey. Also himself coming back off,
neck.
That horrible neck injury. I look at their backs. It doesn't really bode that strongly. Good pack though. Good pack.
Solid pack. Maybe being able to play in New Zealand a bit more this year, that always helps them.
That's why I went slightly higher.
Yeah, I went a gentleman's 14th for that reason.
Yep.
And I think they've had a big kind of change over in that team, so we'll have to see if it makes a difference and whether Jimmy's uncle can lead them to victory here.
Andrew Webster. Tohu Harris hasn't played a full season since 2016. Anyone that plays NRL's fantasy or super coach knows on his day how much work he gets through. And they also had Mitch Barnett from the Knights and Jackson Ford, who I saw bits of him at the Dragons, and he's looked really good in the trials. I think he will definitely be in their best 17. So with the likes of Adam Fanua-Blake and Juz Tavanga and Josh Curran, it's actually a pretty good pack. I just, not sure on how a new spine will gel, but if CNK can play like he was a few years ago for the Raiders when they were, a six again from being
if
premiers.
Sean Johnson is healthy and at his best, then
that's pretty handy.
It doesn't matter too much who your finishers are out wide, and they'll be in some good spaces. So they should have a solid platform off the back of that good pack. So, again, I think they're a solid side, maybe slightly below average, and that's kind of where we've put them. We've put them in that spot. What did I say it was? 14th? Yes.
NRL.com has their predicted starting lineup looking like this. Chance at 1, Dallin Watin-Zalesniak at 2, Viliami Valia at 3, Adam Pompey, Marcelo Montoya, Tamare Martin, Sean Johnson, and then into the pack of Adam Fanua-Blake, who just quietly is underrated, like one of the best big men in the game. Wade Egan, Mitch Barnett.
He's a huge ad for him.
So big. Josh Curran, Murata Nuakore, he comes over from the Eels, and Tohu Harris, who we just mentioned. If he can stay healthy and play, most of the season, who knows? Yeah,
be interesting to see what role Walker plays as well. As a utility.
Word is he'll have the 14 on his back and can slot in.
Where he slots in when he comes on would be interesting. He's a bit of a that dynamo kind of player. So see if he can recapture his best.
Into the last team that we're previewing today, and last year's best team out of the teams that we've spoken about today, the North Queensland Cowboys. They finished third. They won 17 games under coach Todd Payton, who got extended this week. They're paying $12. I think that's about 4th or 5th, according to the bookies. How's this one last year? I was listening back to our predictions. I believe I said in verbatim, pretty confident they won't make the 8. Lol. India are afraid of the Gabba, etc., etc. Shooters got to shoot their shot. We spoke about a lot of teams where we got it pretty right. No one really expected the Cowboys to play as well as they did last year.
Well, I think what we said before probably about Newcastle was what we thought about the Cowboys last year is they had to have guys, the young fellas, step up and play overs, and they did, and they kind of showed their talent and capability. And maybe, Todd Payton was the right person to be able to pull it out for them, and they're a good squad. Really only lost was Tom Gilbert, and they kind of, I guess, switch it with Tamo coming back. So I couldn't make a decision between whether it would be the Cowboys or Eels that'll fall off this year. So I think I had Eels at 6. So I could very easily switch the two. Like I could have Eels finish in 3rd and Cowboys be 6, or it'd be the other way around. I feel like of the teams in the top 8, those are the two that could go either way.
I'm sure all of us, because we're going to talk about the Sydney teams next week, have probably got Penrith and the Chooks as 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And again, we talk about tiers. Melbourne always used to be tier 1. You'd probably think they've dropped down into that second tier.
Got to prove they're tier 1.
And then that tier 2 is broad, isn't it? And I think the Cowboys come into that tier 2 with the likes of the Eels, South Sharks, we'll talk about them next week. Can they, continue their good work from last year? I think it's going to be tough. I think now that there's expectation on them and they played so well last year, I don't see them quite being a top 4 team. I think there's a lot of strong Sydney teams that they're going to have to contend with. I've got them 6th, but like I said, there's not much difference, and like you were saying, not much difference really between 3 and 6, is there?
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of we've covered off the 2 bases. They could probably finish as high as 3rd if they play. Take another step, keep growing, or the other teams will catch them and they will finish 6th. But they should play a part in finals this year.
And you got them at 5th, just teetering there?
Yeah, just teetering there. I guess they probably played overs last year. Yeah. Awesome to make 3rd, but yeah, can they repeat this year is probably the only question.
Another thing as well, we'll talk about the Dragons next week and the culture being really questioned. This Cowboys culture seems really good. They bring up a lot of people through the Townsville Black Hawks in the Q Cup. They through Tom Dearden and Scott Drinkwater, lifelines essentially to come up there and said, we've got faith in you when other clubs haven't, and they repaid him in spades. Yeah. Drinky was, I think he was 4th in the Dally M's and missed games, and Tommy Dearden played in a winning Origin series. So blokes that this time last year were kind of looking, going arming and ahhing,
haven't done much.
How's the pairing with Chad Townsend going to go? He's a Sharks and Warriors reject himself.
So that's the question. Are they going to have a regression this year, or can they maintain / take another step forward in pushing potentially to win the comp?
I think they'll be really good. I'd be surprised if they win the comp.
Yeah. So.
Predicted round 1 teams: Scotty Drink, Cole Felt, Peter Hiku, Val Holmes, wasn't he good last year? Murray Talangi, also very good. We spoke about the halves pair in Tommy Dearden and Chad Townsend playing overs last year. Into Jordan McLean, Reece Robson, Ruben Cotter, Cohen Hess, probably the best year for any young player in the league last year in Jeremiah Nanai.
Got paid, I think, this week or last week?
I think maybe last week. See if you can chase up something there, mate.
Staying for the Cowboys for the foreseeable future.
And the perennial meter eater and real heart and soul of this team in Jason Taumalolo. Yeah. That wraps up our part 1 rugby league preview. Let us know in the comments if you agree, disagree, any hot takes, any shit town names or interesting town names or bridge names of Tickle Cock or whatever it was. Stoner, Colorado. You just Googling these now, are you?
Yeah. Oh, no, there's a list.
How fitting that Stoner is in Colorado.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's it.
There you go.
Named after Stoner Creek. But, yeah.
You do know there's a trip you can take where you can go from panting to kissing to fucking.
Where is fucking?
Is it fuck? I think it's fuck. There's a town called Fuck.
In Eastern Europe, I reckon.
Yeah. So it works that way across. Anyway, Michael Irvin's in our chat saying the Brumbies win the Super Rugby opener against the Tars, and I was like, cool. At least one person watched that game. Poor rugby.
Nice. He's a good fella, friend of Pepe. Thanks for tuning in there, Michael. The Super Rugby, we should mention, did start this evening. I don't know how they play this time of the year. It's so hot. Although I suppose it's similar to playing an NRL or an AFL trial game in this heat. The Brumbies hoping to play well this year in Super Rugby, and are any of these Aussie teams going to be able to stick it to the Kiwi teams?
Yeah, play well and lose to some New Zealand team in the finals.
That seems to be the recipe over the last sort of 5 or 6 years.
Unfortunately.
But yes, if
they've got a World Cup this year, don't they?
Yeah, in France. So that'll be, I think, September. And New Zealand, the All Blacks have sort of fallen off their mighty pedestal over the past few months or year, really. So it might be, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, an England or a France or an Ireland favourite to take out the World Cup. I don't know if any of the Southern Hemisphere teams, probably outside of the All Blacks, are going to fit in that sort of top 3, top 4 fancy.
Eddie Jones is back, bro.
Yeah, Eddie Jones is back. He's going to change Australian rugby. Save it.
Yeah.
You haven't been able to find a town called Fuck.
There was, if I'm reading this article correctly, it's a town in Austria that was renamed Fudging back in 2001.
Fudging.
Boo the PC. Boo.
Yeah.
Or is it Fugging? F-U-double-G. Fuckersburg. That's better. Population 21. Fuckersburg, Austria. Is that like that's like when you get the shits with Facebook and you're like, Fuckersburg, he's got me again. I'm in Facebook jail for another 3 days. Bloody Fuckersburg. Funny. The world is a funny place, is it not? All right, boys, that'll wrap up our rugby league / pseudo-intellectual take on rugby that we watch heaps of and know heaps about the World Cup upcoming. Hit that button if you would, monks.
Curry sets, fires, puts it up, bang!
Didn't play in this, though.
All-Star weekend. 3-point contest. We'll start off with that. Dame Dollar wins his first 3-point contest. It was the Pacers boys that he had to beat in that Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield. Poor Kevin Huerter had an absolute stinker. He was just bricking it up. And good to see a few big men out there shooting the three. Lauri Markkanen has played out of his skin this year. We'll talk about him in a little while. And then the other blokes were Julius Randle, Jason Tatum, and Tyler Hero. The dunk contest, Mac McClung. The NBA's in a weird place now, aren't they? Where a G League dude has to get a 2-week contract with the Philadelphia 76ers to go and save the slam dunk competition. They were sick dunks.
Yes.
Did you catch a bit of this?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. 6'2" white dude out there. The first one that he did where he jumped over his mate, taps the ball on the glass and then dunks it. That boy got some hops.
Yeah.
I think I sent you guys the high school highlight reel of him. These poor 16-year-old kids just look, underdeveloped and sort of really pubescent, squeaky voice teenager vibes from Simpsons. And he doesn't look that much different, really. And he's out there just doing these insane, windmill alley-oop dunks.
Have you seen, since that, his G League team, they've been selling out his recent matches as well. So people are now like, we've got to turn out. And his winning purse was more than his total career earnings from G League as well.
Really? Just from winning that contest?
Yeah,
140 odd grand?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
I think he was 96 and he got 100K for this. So, it's just...
Is that all the G League players make?
Yeah. Well, fuck all. So
yeah, but that's great. I would have thought it would have been a little bit more. Hey, that's what that's that steep drop off in the US, isn't it? The upper echelon makes absolute bank, and then it drops off pretty quickly. But good on you, Mac McClung. The reactions of all the other NBA stars filming Giannis out there with his kids, that they all loved it. It kind of made I'm going to say it, a rather lackluster All-Star weekend a little bit more interesting.
No, it was the biggest news story out of the whole thing. So,
wasn't it? Yeah.
Without it, it would have been a very, very quiet week.
Yep. The other dudes in that slam dunk contest were Trey Murphy, KJ Martin with his old man, and Jericho Sims. It's always hard. 6'10" blokes. They're like, yeah, you should be able to dunk. You're gonna have to do something real special. Go blow the candle out. Something like that if you're a big man. But it sort of begs a question: do we need Jar and Zion and blokes like that, these real upper echelon dunkers in the dunk contest to sort of really revive?
Did you see Jar's comment? It was just I need 1 billion likes or something to compete in the dunk contest. So
I wonder why.
Is it
you go and do
injury thing or?
I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe
I don't
part of
understand
that,
why.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I can think of.
Maybe this is a name for the NBR All-Star team, the town of...
not the town, the fell, a mountain.
The mountain.
In England, called the Great Cock Up. Don't know what happened there for them to name it that, but...
The Great Cock Up.
Yeah.
I assume from a certain angle the mountain looks...
it looks like a pretty standard mountain to me, dude. Mushroom-like, some might say.
It's not a very big mountain, is it?
None of them are in England.
Yeah, about average for an Englishman.
525 meters. Jesus.
I was going to say 525 feet. It's barely a hill. Team LeBron took on Team Giannis in the main event. Now, Giannis played, so it seems like his wrist is fine.
Did he? I thought he was on the sideline the whole time just cheering.
I thought he played some minutes.
You might have been thinking about the celebrity or something.
It was his
on the
brothers. I saw.
sideline.
I don't know. I had to work this Monday. Had last Monday off, Super Bowling it up, so I didn't really catch much of this. Just saw highlights. It was 184 to 175. The under-overs for the down under punters were about 320 something, and
Why would you bet on this game?
well, because they smacked it. They got three. What's that? 350, 360 quick.
Well,
maths?
they had to get to the 182 points to end the game. So
So that would have been free money.
yeah,
That's 160 each is 320. Yeah.
So Giannis did play.
Yeah, I thought I saw him.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
2 points. 0 minutes? I don't know how does that work?
he probably started the 5 and then went off.
Yeah, they might have given
Yeah.
it to him no one hack at his wrist.
Yeah, just let him put up
That's
a
it,
bucket
yeah.
and get out of here.
And then Big Jojo said, "No, fuck it." So interesting, yeah. What kind of used to be a bit more of a spectacle, it's kind of fizzling a little bit the All-Star weekend, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the Joker was picked second last in this and kind of picked himself to be on LeBron's team because he forgot there was one other guy standing next to him. So he was just like, you can take me. But yeah, potential three-peat MVP not getting picked in this. Interesting that I think didn't LeBron take Kyle? He took Kyrie for as his first pick.
Oh, really?
Showing a bit of love there. Interesting. I guess any other news was this was the least watched All-Star game of all time. So for ratings wise, it was pretty dreadful, unfortunately.
Of all time. And
Yeah.
this goes
And
back,
it has
back
been-
to the 80s.
It has been.
So they're pulling less
going-
viewers than they did in the 1980s.
Well, I guess it depends on when they would been recording these numbers and what they're doing it. But of recent viewership, it's been in decline and it's the lowest it's ever been.
TikTok, bro.
Yeah. And it was interesting it was significantly less than the Pro Bowl, which had been redesigned for the NFL this year to try and, again, get a bit of interest, a bit of hype.
Which was fucking flag football.
Yes. Which ended up, being pretty decent. Different kind of game, of course, but it drew all eyeballs. So I'm not sure what the NBA is going to do going forward. People just don't, I guess, want to tune in to watch a basketball game that has no defense.
Yeah. Some pretty sick dunks, I must say.
It was.
But yeah, it is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Monks, what do you got there for us?
Another town.
Another town. The village of Holy Sloot.
Was that in the Netherlands?
Yeah. Dutch province in North Holland.
Holy sloot. I reckon we get one more to finish the show. We'll finish the show on one of those. Make sure,
All right, I'll find a good one to end the show with.
It's a good way to swear on YouTube, though. So we're naming towns. We're the locations.
Holy sloot.
Yeah, come at us, bro.
New Holland, Netherlands.
Yeah.
Okay, Russ Westbrook, he goes to the Los Angeles Clippers. Only had 10 days there at the Jazz.
Yeah,
they
bought
bought out his contract.
Yeah.
Did you catch much of this?
A little bit. Seeing him kind of going to the Clippers, looking forward to playing the Lakers. I think both him and Pat Beverly have both said the same thing, that their sole mission is to make sure the Lakers don't make the playoffs.
Fuck the Lakers. Fuck the Lakers, Alberta. It's a town. Sorry, YouTube. That they look pretty strong on paper with Russ going there. Reuniting with PG-13. We saw how good they were in those OKC days. If Kawhi and them all stay healthy, that's a reasonable big three. With Zubats is a pretty good big, and Morris in the 4 jersey there. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the Clippers can do with Russ, the former MVP. NBA was back today. We won't go through the East and the West because it's only hasn't really changed since we spoke about it last. We'll just go through any headlines from today. So Joker got another triple dub.
Shocked me.
And
they won. Shocked me.
And they won, yeah. So that record that we spoke about last week, that keeps rolling. Celtics had a high-scoring shootout with the Pacers. Miles Turner, the big man, actually had a career-high 40 points, 8 of 10 from 3-point land. It's pretty impressive when you see a big man shoot 80% from 3-point land. Magic Pistons, they're tanking for Wembanyama. Sixers had a win with Embiid grabbing 19 boards, if you don't mind. And speaking of big glass work, that Jakob Poeltl is fitting in nicely there in Toronto. Mavs win big, Luka good, Waters wet in that one. Lauri Markkanen, he is having some kind of year. The Jazz had a close one there. He put up 43 in that hot off his All-Star appearance. The Lakers beat the Warriors, so this is probably another big talking point is Steph's injury. So he's done his superior tib-fib ligament, so up high on the outside of the shin there, and then into, so you hear about the syndesmosis being a high ankle sprain, but it does go all the way up that shin there. He's definitely out for another week at least. He's already missed 5 games, so he'll miss another 3 or 4 this week, and then they're going to reassess. So they're going to be leaving their run pretty late, it would seem. Everyone's expected them to, be one of the best teams in the West, but they've still got a bit of work to do.
Yeah, a lot of work to do. And same for the Lakers. And the Lakers will be happy to get a win in this one because they're in the exact same boat. They need to start making their run now after making some moves and see if they can do that.
A team that is sitting pretty in the West, shine that beam. They keep winning. They won well today, the Sacramento Kings. Darren Fox had 30, and Domantas Sabonis, like Lauri Markkanen, another big Euro coming off the All-Star weekend. He had a triple dub, and Sacramento aren't going away anytime soon.
Did you see they released a mock draft for next year that had Bronny James going 10th to the Magic?
To the Magic?
Yes. So the reason it's interesting is his dad has famously been quoted that if I get traded to the Magic, I'm just retiring. So,
really?
So they've pulled it out. There's someone they've gone, if you're going to want to do that hook up with your son, and yes, if it's the Magic, then end up picking him. You did famously say you'd rather retire than play for that team. So,
that'd be fun. Banchero, Bronny, and Bron Senior.
Yeah. But it'd be interesting to see if he would move down that far into 10th. He probably needs a big year of college this year. And then we will have to see how his lead up into that draft goes and whether maybe he squeaks up a few spots.
Fuck, that'd be sick if there's a father-son duo in the NBA. I think
that's
a lot of people want to see it.
Yeah, I know LeBron has been saying during the week that I can't miss the finals again. So, they're talking about their run. They now really need to hit their straps and
they're done,
make a push.
Nah.
They're still within shooting, they're within hitting range of making the play in. So that's kind of really all they need to get to. But they got to win a decent amount of games from here to the end. But having said that, the only really reason I think James is continuing is so he can play with Bronny when he comes out.
From US round ball to European round ball?
From hands to feet.
Thriller at Aston Villa, thriller at the Villa. Arsenal get away with one last weekend at Aston Villa. Villa had an early lead, and then I don't know if you guys saw that Saka goal, but it was absolute rocket top bin. And then Villa go up 2-1. And then how about Alexander Zinchenko? It's actually a year since the war started in Ukraine today. So Puck Putin, etc. Town in Eastern Russia. Sorry, YouTube. But he'd played 76 games for Manchester City, 16 for Arsenal, so close to 100 Premier League goals. He is a left back. But he scored. He scored to level it up, make it 2 apiece. And then Jorginho scored one of the rankest goals you'll ever see. It was like a FIFA glitch. Hit the crossbar, went down, hit the back of the keeper, and then into the old onion bag. That would have been broken TV, PlayStation controller through the TV, Philadelphia fans smashing their TVs. It's just some of that gear after that one. But it means Arsenal sort of get away with one there and retain top spot with a game in hand. Because City slipped up against Not Forest last weekend too. Chelsea slipped up, so their miserable run continues. Speaking of miserable runs. Everton, they got a win 1-0 against Leeds. We spoke a few weeks ago about their run and playing a few of those other sort of relegation danger teams. So that gets them a tiny bit of breathing room.
It's pretty close there.
Yeah,
18 to 21.
Isn't it? So a lot of teams are in contention to drop down into the championship. And United are stringing together a pretty good run. They beat Leicester 3-0 last weekend. And imagine this, sort of 10 years ago. In fact, this was the Champions League final 10 or 12 years ago. Manchester United versus Barcelona. Imagine, saying, that's actually going to be a Europa round of 16 game.
Yeah.
It's not even the round of 16. It was to get into the round of 16. They've got a weird kind of setup. I don't really know how it works in the Div 2 of Champions League. But United go through and Barca gets sent packing. Bloke called Anthony. That's Anthony without the H. He scored the winner in that one. Spurs win last week against West Ham. So they are currently ahead of Newcastle for that last Champions League spot. But Newcastle having the game in hand. You'd think Fulham's a touch off. Oh, look at
Not
it.
too far.
But Brighton and Liverpool have games in hand.
2 games.
Yeah, so you'd think that
Brighton have West Ham and Crystal Palace.
Yeah, so that last Champions League spot is really up for grabs. You'd think with 14 odd games to go, United have a 7-point lead against Spurs going from 3rd to 4th. So you'd think Arsenal, City, United are going to be okay. And
fighting it out probably.
And they're the ones duking it out. United currently at $12 to win the whole thing. Only 3 points on the back of Man City, but definitely City and Arsenal, way ahead on goal difference and highly favoured to take out the league. One of those two teams. Champions League. What are we now? It was the last 2 days. There was Champions League games. How about Napoli? They sit 15 points clear in Serie A. So give that to them right now. And they beat Frankfurt, who won the Europa League last year. So they're pretty well through. They get to go home with a 2-0 away lead. They'd be pretty unlucky to bottle that.
Yes.
Speaking of bottling it, Liverpool 2-0 after 15 minutes there at Anfield against Real, and then concede 5. So braces.
Poked the bear.
Yeah, big time. Real looked real good. Vinny Jr. and Benzema braces in that one. How about the super sub Lukaku? He gets Inter over the gets them the draw at the San Siro against Porto, and then another sort of slip up, I guess, from City. They were dominant over in Germany against Red Bull Leipzig, but again couldn't come away with the bickies. So 1-1 draw for them there. Those return legs will be in the upcoming weeks, and then we'll have the last 8 left for the Champions League. Gets us into a pretty quick wrap up the On The Esky final round. Bit of UFC news, Shauno. Jessica Andrade loses to Erin Blanchfield. Did you catch any highlights of this one?
Yeah, and interesting that Andrade kind of out-grappled. Was a bit of a surprise. I think this was down a weight for her.
She's normally in that one, in the flyweight. That's Shevchenko's weight.
No, I think she's come down to this one. She's usually one up.
Did she fight Shevchenko higher, perhaps? I actually don't know. Hand on heart, not
because she would have
up to date with the women's flyweight.
No, she fought Rose in that. So Rose and which is it upper division maybe? Either way for Jessica, she moved a division. This is not her normal division because she's probably going to go back. For her, you probably just look at her recent fight card would tell you where she had been competing because I thought she was in. Scroll up. Too far. We're looking at the women's division. She's been fighting in the strawweight, not in the flyweight.
She's a former strawweight champion.
Yes.
So she was fighting up. But I'm sure she's fought Shevchenko before, which she lost at that. So that was at flyweight. So she went up, fought Shevchenko, lost,
Came back
then
down.
went back down to strawweight, and now she's gone back up to flyweight.
Yeah.
So she sort of chops and changes a
Yeah,
bit.
I think I think that's the chat. She's a bit more competitive at strawweight and maybe a bit undersized once going up. Those extra weight against the slightly bigger girls. But Erin's kind of really pushed herself into contention for a title fight against Shevchenko, against the Bullets, because there's really no one else left in that division at this point.
And that's assuming Shevchenko beats Alexa Grasso. Poor Grasso, you never know. There have been some almighty upsets, especially in women's championship fights. But we will preview that card next week. A massive UFC 285 with the return of John Jones after nearly 3 years of Balkan. He'll fight Cyril Gahn in that one.
It's a massive fight.
Just back to Erin Blanchfield. She's 23 and she's got a 12-1 record. So she's absolutely shot up the rankings. And assuming Shevchenko takes care of business, she may get the fight. There's also that Manon Fiore, I think is how you say that, the French fighter who's looked really good, because Shevchenko has beat the rest of them before in Santos, Andrade, Chookagian, Lauren Murphy. pretty much cleaned them out.
Yeah, she's done most of that division already. So, yes.
So we'll do a full preview next week. So we'll be Friday here of UFC 285. Look at the whole card. Look at the stories and the all the anticipation.
The comeback.
The comeback. The return of the king. Some might say. We already used that with Virat Kohli. Damn.
Well, the GOAT. If John Jones wins this fight, he's unanimous GOAT. Like, you can't deny it anymore.
Wow, throwing that out straight up.
Yep.
In come the Jones Asterix haters, given PEDs and the rest.
Yeah.
You see some bodybuilder was getting stuck in him this week, just saying he was fake, etc., and Bones was just like, don't hold him back, let him through. I was like, that's the last person you want to
like you talk about poking bears. That's one of the baddest
I don't care how
mofos
big
on
you
the
are.
planet.
I don't care how big you are. It's Johnny Bones Jones.
Mofo town in Norway.
Yes. Outside of that,
Probably started to kill that joke a little bit. Hey?
outside of
I've got one more.
You were going to finish with it.
We'll finish with it.
We'll sign
it
off.
better be a good one.
It's pretty good.
I don't think there's a UFC fight night this weekend, but I don't think anyone major competing on that.
I'll tell you who it is.
But they won't be that big of a fighting event, because unfortunately it'll go head to head with Jake Paul taking on Tommy Fury, which is on Sunday. They had a press conference, I believe, today, and Fury was a no-show. So, of course, Jake Paul got stuck into him handedly.
Do we know why no show?
Nothing yet. And Jake, of course, was pushing it as like fear, etc., etc. So
Interesting.
we'll have to see how that goes. When's the weigh-in will be
Tomorrow, our time?
So, a bit of banter back and forth, but it looks like it will, it's too late to pull out now. So we will see if Tommy Fury is the legit boxer he claims and whether Jake Paul has enough for him. Jake's been talking that he's not as hard as Anderson Silva, so he's planning to knock him out early. Hoping.
What do you think?
I don't know. Yes, Fury is a legit boxer, but also he's not, ranked heavily in his weight class. So
He's, according to Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports, a bum or something along those lines.
Like he's not that prominent of a boxer. He's just got a very good last name. Whereas Jack's kind of been proving himself the last couple of years. I'm fully in the storyline for the Jake Paul and KSI fight culminating at some point. So we'll have to, which will probably mid to late this year.
They're mates though, aren't they? Like
they hate each other. It's Logan. So Logan and KSI. So Jake's older brother and KSI are friends. JJ are friends. So they got the whole Prime sponsorship shit. So making all the monies.
Yeah, so that makes me really question this so-called hatred between KSI and Jake.
Yeah. But either way, that's what I'm here for. So if Jake gets another big win, then they keep that storyline rolling.
Didn't realise how big fucking KSI and Logan Paul are here in Australia. Did you see them last week
Yes.
down for
The
the UFC
Today Show.
on the Today Show? Holy shit, there were some people there.
Yeah, impulsive. So Logan did a podcast with JJ and then followed it up and did one with Nick Kyrgios, which was a pretty interesting listen. So, talking about being hungover and beating Nadal. So,
Wild athletes, man. Wild athletes.
Yeah, exactly. So
I don't know if you boys have caught that 14 Peaks documentary on Netflix. Bloke goes and climbs the 14 tallest mountains in the world, and yes, he did one hungover as well.
Yeah.
Like just different levels of mental fortitude.
What I did find interesting in this fight when they were squaring up, that Jake is actually bigger than him. Maybe Tommy's got the shoulders, the width in the shoulders.
He looks like a bodybuilder, doesn't he? Like, I don't know.
Well,
compared to a boxer.
I think he did.
He's got a beautiful face.
He did Love Island or some equivalent in the UK.
Yeah.
So, Jake I think slightly taller and probably got slightly more reach, but I think Tommy's probably got more thickness. But we'll see who's the better boxer come Sunday.
I'll bring up some odds in a sec. Dana definitely cut his losses. Looking at this fight night card, with due respect to all the people biffing in that one, the headline for the UFC fight night is Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann in light heavyweights.
Is that at the Apex Center or whatever it is?
I think it's Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be no crowds. So they did last fight night was the same. They had no crowds. It was just in the performance center where they essentially churning out the fights and putting it on ESPN so people can watch it.
Bookies can't really split them. Jake Paul's slight favourite, $1.85 to Tommy Fury's $2.25.
Method of victory there, bro?
Method of victory, we have Jake by points or decision, $3.10. Jake by KO, TKO, $3.90. Tommy by points or decision, $5.50. Tommy by KO, TKO, $3.40.
Slightly.
So they think Tommy's got the power to win it. If he is able to do it, the bookies have Tommy being more able to finish Jake Paul than beat him for the distance. So they're obviously questioning his tank, which is wild when you look at the rig on the bloke. Where is this? Saudi
Arabia, yeah.
They don't give a fuck about that oil money, do they? They take the cash. We speak.
Well, there was no visa issues, so this was a neutral ground essentially.
Okay.
Because they couldn't. They tried to do this in America, and then Tommy couldn't get a visa to get across.
Why is Tommy not allowed in America?
I don't know. Family relation, maybe.
But
then again, Tyson's fought over there, so
I don't know.
Bit of back and forth. Anyway, couldn't get his visa, couldn't get over, and Jake wasn't going to go to fucking England to fight in his home turf. The neutral here.
America being Bart's Treehouse. It's a no gypsies club. We're allowed one. We're allowed one gypsy. The gypsy fucking king. Bit of golf. John Rahm is looking really, really good. I think he had 8 of his last 9 starts. He's finished in the top 10, which is ridiculous in a sport which is notoriously hard to be consistent in. Yep. He won the Genesis last week. We already spoke about Tiger giving JT the tampon confirmed real. Confirmed had to apologise. Because it was caught up.
Can't get away with anything.
Caught on camera. No, whether it's a Tampex or a 40 grit bit of sandpaper, the cameras are going to pick it up. So, he said that it was bad taste. It was just meant to be a little personal joke between him and JT. And speaking of JT, he features pretty heavily in Netflix's new show, Full Swing, which is... They're doing a few sort of Drive to Survive inspired kind of shows, and it is compelling viewing. Golfers are kind of all really different. So you look at Matt Fitzpatrick and Ian Poulter, the English blokes on that show, they're very, very different. And then the Americans seem to be kind of jockey. And then, there's this Joel Damon who's likes drinking beers and kind of considers himself like being a pro golfer, but never going to win anything big. And it's a really interesting insight.
I'm just here to finish top 10, get some prize money, and move on.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, he didn't even think to being like, he's just like, I'm just on the...
Oh, yeah, I'm on the tour.
I'm on the tour. I think he said something along the lines of, well, someone's going to be the 70th best golfer in the world. It may as well be me.
Did you see, I think it was this week, the PGA... officially reneged on their stance and are going to let the live guys play.
Majors only?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't. it was a golf headline, so I didn't read the whole thing.
Because there's a whole.
That's maybe to get a clarification.
Yeah, there's a sticky one with like DJ and Mickelson and guys that have gone over and have won majors because you're meant to be able to go back for life.
Yeah.
So that has been a contentious point. Again, all the live stuff was unfolding whilst they had the cameras rolling last year.
So I read that headline, so that's why I was assuming it was for everything.
You can do a bit of reading there for us, monks. But yeah, it also explains golf in the most basic of terms, much like the other shows have done. And the missus has been watching it with me and enjoying it. Enjoying it. So kudos to Netflix. They've obviously found a winning formula and getting people interested in these sports and these touring sports especially. And what a better way to do it than making it a reality TV show essentially.
Yeah, well, I think Drive to Survive kind of paved the way a little bit as Netflix documentaries following a sport, and maybe that's a segue a little bit into the F1. There was Drive to Survive comes out today. There's a quarterbacks documentary, which I think followed Mahomes, Cousins, and Mariota this season.
None of us would be interested in that.
No. So that'll be pretty interesting. Kind of shows a bit of the behind the scenes. I think Mariota is going to be an interesting one. Of course, losing his job there at the Falcons, and then kind of disappearing from the team. It'd be interesting to see how that goes. But F1's back. They're testing. They're in Bahrain at the moment. It's been pretty interesting the last two and a bit weeks. They did reveals of all the liveries. A lot of darker themes this year, which I thought was interesting. A lot of darker tones, a lot of extra blacks in the liveries. So a lot of kind of aggressive looking fast cars. So that will maybe make the viewership a little bit interesting. We'll see what it looks like when they get into the racing. So far in testing, bit concerning for the McLarens. We're on day 2 here and Norris is in the seat, but Oscar struggled yesterday and Norris is currently 9 out of the 10 that are running at the moment. The McLarens have been a little bit off the pace. Red Bull's, of course, been cages. The Ferraris, biggest chat with them. They've been very quick. The S-Duck they've added to their side pods and the dimple in the front nose wing being the big stories. But will be much to do about nothing until the season starts in... Yeah, I do.
There we go. We got it.
I do about nothing.
Good on you, Shakespeare. You could barely fucking speak English yourself.
So what did we say? It was 2 weeks until the first race.
Yeah.
So getting very, very close. They've got 3 rookies this year. Drive to Survive's out for last season, which will be excellent viewing. F1 is back with a full swing. Did you get an answer to that live golf thing, Jimmy?
It was a long article.
It was a long article. I think they made exemptions for some players for some tournaments.
Okay.
But then they have the right to invite additional players.
Yeah, so it looks like the major winners, I think, are going to be allowed.
Okay,
cool. It seems. Live kicking off this weekend. It's pretty soon as well. Does that get us to the final statement? Did you found the funniest town name in the world?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
What do you got there for us?
So
Perhaps it's already laughing, so it better be good.
A village in the Czech Republic.
Check, yes.
700 inhabitants. It's called Horny Police.
Horny with an I.
Horny with an I.
Horny Wait a minute, this isn't Pornhub. Oh, goodness. Horny. Now, surely that's just us having a laugh, and that's not pronounced like that in Czech. It's,
100%. That's probably not how it's...
Does it have a pronunciation there in the Wikipedia page?
yeah, there's a lot of symbols that I don't understand.
Okay.
It's Oberpolutz in German. And, I don't know, by all accounts, according to our understanding of the Czech language, it's horny police. So there you go.
Well, the Aussie slang would definitely be horny police. So.
Horny police, Czechia.
We've got their own website.
There you go. Horny police. Defund them, I say.
Defund the horny police.
He's causing trouble.
I think it's a big category, so, yeah, anyway.
Yeah, anyways. What a great note to finish today's show on. Thank you to anyone that has listened to this sports chat, this dribble. You've learnt the names of a few interesting towns.
With a few bit of geography thrown in. We love that.
Yeah,
Love a
be
bit of
careful
geography.
with your searches if you're fact checking us on those ones. Next week, what do we got next week? We've got part 2 of our NRL preview. We'll look at the
Hopefully have
Sydney
had a gameplay.
teams. Yeah,
And a game on.
and a game. We'll have one under the belt and one live. We'll have a few games under the belt. Fingers crossed. We'll have a third test to. I'm going to say review. It'll be the third day.
Yeah, hopefully it hasn't ended.
Hopefully we're halfway through the
Hopefully
Aussies
we'll be
batting on a road making 450.
Did you remember when they interviewed Cummins down here after they had the 3-day test? And it's like, it's not often we play a 3-day test.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you go over to India next minute, and then they've already had 2.
Let's hope it gets through that third day and we can
Yes.
talk about,
Watch some cricket.
watch some. Yeah,
Could
watch
be a big night
yeah.
of sport next
sports,
Friday.
the sports balls. The teams beating the other teams at the sports.
And then when's AFL? Would that be the following week? We'd do
No, it's 2. We've got a little while. We've got a little while, so it's 2 weeks after.
start
So
of the NRL.
correct. So
3 weeks away.
That's right. But then we've also got a week off because I've got a wedding. You guys down the
Oh, yeah.
coast, Canberra Day. You. Most public holidays out of any state. Let's go. It's only really next week and then into an AFL preview.
Yep.
UFC 285, massive one there. NBA, EPL, all the usual shits and gigs. And I think stupid town names probably that segment misses out next week.
Maybe. We'll see how we go.
He'll spend all week and have 100 of them ready
Yeah,
to
that's
go.
right. Yeah. Guess what? We got this one. We got this one. Thank you to anyone that's left comments. We do appreciate it. Our Earth is the best. Yes, it is the best. It's
is.
inhabitable. It has oxygen. 75% water. We love that.
Makes beer.
Yeah, and
Yes.
the masses enjoy sports. So
Indeed. Catch you next week. We'll see you then. Thanks for listening.
goodbye.
Do you want to hit the button now?